Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. However you happen to be watching or listening to this, I want to say I appreciate you for tuning into the Gaming Circle podcast, the podcast where we hit 500 subscribers on YouTube since the last time we were on here. And it's in due in large part to great community members and listeners and podcast
I thought you were going to say it was due to me. What the hell?
and also due to the Everborn saga. Good morning,
but don't forget, we also have the celebrity Captain Keys here. So we have a cast member of the Halo show. So I think you need to
keep the slander. The slander has to be a runway of slander. It shouldn't start with the slander.
I'm not saying correlation is causation, but I have a feeling if we weren't so slanderous towards Sega and Sonic on this show, we would hit 1,000 by now. But that's just me. That's just me.
I actually think, because the negativity always breeds more listenerships, right? I think the more slanderous we are to Sega, the better our numbers look.
Stop it right now. Stop it.
I am your host, Mr. K Asante, TKO Asante on Twitter, Xbox, PlayStation, everywhere. And of course, you heard my brother from another brother, Mr. Everborn Saga. How are you doing today, sir?
Today, my name is Everborn Sick.
Oh, because that's unfortunate, man.
I've had I don't know if it's allergies, but I've been getting allergy shots. So I don't know what's going on with me. But I am under the weather. That's why I'm not on camera. But
I understand.
Just for once. Hello, everybody. I'm alive. It's me.
And you know what? Let us move on to our guest this week.
Sorry. Please. If I sound funny, it's because I'm eating the greatest cereal ever known to mankind, which is Golden Grams.
Golden Grams?
I said it, and I will die on this hill.
I'm a Cheerios man myself, but okay. We will move swiftly along. Yes, we will move swiftly along.
Soft.
And the slander has begun. Let me introduce my guest for this week, which I will before I even introduce this man, I will publicly, and I apologize to him in the green room. I will publicly apologize because it is unfathomable to me that this is the first time I am introducing him to our show. This man, I feel like he's been on the show multiple times. He's in the chat all the time. If you are around the gaming podcasting and community, and you love the discourse, you've heard this man's voice. He is passionate. He is very positive, but he always does it in a very low key, even keeled kind of way. You barely you never see him on cam, but if you're talking anything about racing games, he's excited because you can hear his eyebrow raise. You can hear it. You don't see it.
Fuzzy is like Agent 47. You never see him until it's too late.
Until it's too late.
If you see Fuzzy, your day's not going to go very well.
It's over already.
Too late for you.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. I am so thrilled to have you here. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me. It's an honor to be here with you guys. I always love checking out your show and interacting with you guys in the chat and stuff. And it's just awesome to be here with with you discussing these topics today. So glad to be here.
I appreciate you being here, sir. It is awesome to have you here. Anyone who's been in these gaming streets talking this game stuff and enjoying these podcasts and these content creations knows your name, heard your voice, and we are very blessed to have you join us on this show today. I also want to thank a bunch of folks already showing up in the chat as we have our repeat offenders. I call them. Mr. J Mo Money's in here. I see Erodimus in here. I see Doovie. I saw Gerald Mack was like the first to be in here this morning. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all the audio listeners, the video listeners, the video watchers. As I said at the top of the show, we are now breaking 500 subscribers on YouTube. So that is well on its track to head to the 1,000 subscribers that we're looking for by the end of the year. So thank you guys. I see a bunch of folks always promoting it on Twitter and telling people about it. I appreciate you continuing to do so. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do. Tell a buddy. It's always great. It always supports the channel and it keeps us moving forward. Lucius Augustus, welcome, sir.
And Paulie Baba.
The people just pulling up. We really, Mr. John Wolf is in the spot. Sir, it's always good to chat with you, sir, as well. I'm sure we'll have you back on the show again pretty soon. So yes, let us start this show as we always do with the games that we have been playing, and you know, the elephant in the room, you see what I am playing, and then we'll discuss that. But we'll start with Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. What games have been keeping you busy this week, sir?
Well, for the most part, it's always the usual suspects. A combination of Forza Motorsport 7, Forza Horizon 5, and Gran Turismo 7. Those are pretty much my go-tos all the time. They're pretty much like in rotation. Do a couple of races on one, do an update on a couple of paint schemes on another, you know, take some photos in another one type of thing. And then my low-key favorite at this point, because the Division seems like, or Ubisoft doesn't seem like they're interested in updating, although
we did hear Division 2 news, right?
Yeah, they just made that announcement, so I'm probably going to hop back into that. But prior to that, Insurgency Sandstorm was my go-to shooter.
Yeah, you and Gerald Mack, y'all are out there with the Insurgency Sandstorm. I hear about that a lot from you two. That's great. Yeah. You still playing it?
Oh yeah, like co-op. It's one of those games where, you know, depending on the random group that you team up with, I mean, it's great with friends, but not everybody wants to play it as often as I do. But when you're teamed up with random, sometimes it goes great. It's like you get the communication. Everybody knows to cover their sector. You know, I'll cover this doorway, you cover that window. And then you'll have the times where you're teamed up with somebody that's like only Call of Duty or only Battlefield. And they're like in the doorway, and it's like, oh, wait, I see an enemy, and it's like, oh, and I'm dead. Wait, who shot me? And it's like, no, you're not supposed to stand in the doorway. But yeah, it's so much fun. And yeah, I hope at some point they either put that as like a games with gold, or like a PS Plus, or even, you know, like Game Pass or something, so some more people can, you know, be exposed to it and get hooked on it like I am.
Now, is it straight gas, like games as a service game, or is it like campaign with gas elements? I haven't played it yet, so I'm not sure exactly how it falls. Is it like a straight up Call of Duty, like we have a campaign, then we have a multiplayer, or is there kind of where does that fall?
It's just multiplayer, but there's two aspects. You got the PvP, which is like team-based or like objective-based stuff, like your usual like team deathmatch, or like your push, or things along those lines. And that part's great. Not as interested on it because I'm not the greatest at PvP. But then you have the co-op, where there's no campaign, but it almost feels like a campaign. And doing the co-op, where you have up to 8 players on either the insurgent side or the security side, and your objective is to go from checkpoint to checkpoint, clear them or defend them. Sometimes it's just a matter of blowing up a weapons cache. Other times it's a matter of defending it from like an onslaught of attacks and things like that. And then you'll have like the final objective. And some of them you have it where it's like you either extract, you know, you have to wait and hold off the enemy until the helicopter comes, or you'll have it where you have to, you know, fight the next 3 to 5 big waves of enemies and things like that. So it's like all hands on deck, you know, bunker down until
very team specific, very team dependent kind of a game, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of get through with, you know, some people going on their own. Like every now and then you'll have like an awesome sniper that's like off site. And they're like they're still helping the team, obviously, but it's almost like they're the lone wolf on the hill type of deal. And they'll start picking off the enemies as they get to like certain like kill points and stuff. But man, it gets intense. And I've tried to post a few videos where it's like some of those last moments where it's like you got the suicide bomber running straight at you, you got the, you know, the technical or the armored truck coming, and it's just got the you know, the minigun on the back, and it's laying down some hate on the objective and stuff like that. Or you got the helicopter coming in to back you up, or you call in the A-10 to, you know, do some strafe fire and stuff like that.
So this sounds very Ubisoft-esque, but it's not Tom Clancy, is it?
No, not Tom Clancy.
Interesting.
It's like it's a mil sim, but console level worthy. Like it's not full on mil sim, obviously, but it definitely is as close as you can get. It's like what a lot of people love about Rainbow Six Siege.
Sounds very much like that.
Yeah. But it's not the quick move speed. I mean, they do have modes every now and then that they try that's kind of Call of Duty-esque. But the main fan base, they're all about, you know, not really the slow movement, but more of like the, you know, team base, strategy, tactical movements.
So you just can't go it alone, basically.
Yeah.
Understood. Gerald Mack, he is talking about Insurgency Sandstorm. So yes, that is his. That's what keeping him busy. I'm surprised you spent more time talking Insurgency Sandstorm than let's say GT7, for instance. I know you real big at GT7 these days.
Yeah, like for me with GT7, I know this is going to sound a bit embarrassing, but it's one of those things where there's a money farm or a quote unquote exploit where it's now made the game.
You're farming.
Yeah, it's made it a lot more enjoyable. Like there's a couple of tracks where you can earn money pretty quickly, and it makes it easier to, like what I'm doing now is buying a lot of duplicates of certain cars, putting, there's awesome painters and livery designers in the community. So putting a lot of their paint schemes on the different cars and making it look like an actual official race at that point. And just, going to town, starting last and trying to pick through the field and, hopefully make it to the front before the checkered flag drops. But that's the main stuff I've been doing with that. And, just kind of holding on until, the next motorsport comes out, which I'm hoping they announce this June 12th.
We'll talk the June show. We'll touch on the June show a little bit, but yes, I'm expecting some news of that on that front as well. Definitely. If they don't have that what other really big first party announcement will they? Well, like Mr. Everborn Saga said in the green room, which we'll get to that. Yeah, there might be some other surprises in there as well. But no, I hear you on that. Mr. Everborn Saga, how about you? Are we still Elden Ring every day, all day?
You can, well, not every day, all day, but yes, you can skip right past me. I've spent the last week farming,
Elden Ringing. Okay.
Well, not actually farming. I am trying to get the bell bearing so that I can buy the smithing stones 7 and 8 so that I can upgrade the rest of the weapons that I regularly use. So that's what I've been just trying to do. And you have to get to a certain part in the world, which is towards the end game. So I had to go burn a certain tree. If anybody who's playing it, you catch my drift. And now I'm in a tornado place, just trying to, because that's where you find it. So that's kind of what it's not an eventful week in Elden Ring, but that's it. That's all I'm into at the moment.
Hey, look, man, you are among the converted. We got Paulie Baba in here saying, I'm an addict. Welcome, Paulie Baba.
I genuinely wonder if I will be playing this game until Starfield comes out. It may be this and Starfield are the only two games I play this year.
You might be, you might be, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There are those games that you marry,
Yeah, right?
It'll take a while.
This thing came out in February,
bro. I finished Trek to Yumi in 2 sittings. You don't need to be like me. You can play your game that you love so much for months or years on end without it ever seeing the credits roll. So there's nothing wrong.
I'm also not recommending you be like me because this stuff is ridiculous.
So let me hit to real quick what I've been playing and Deploy 619. We appreciate you being here, good sir. He puts it I'd say a little bit higher. I'm a little higher on it than he is, but Trek to Yumi was a solid 7.5 for him. For me, it's about an 8. It's about an 8. Like so as you can see on the screen, the video watchers are seeing the gameplay on screen for me. It like visually, I was telling Fuzzy before the show, it gives me vibes of Limbo with swords. It gives me vibes of Beyond Limbo. There's what's the other one? Inside. It has that vibe to it as well. There are places to this game and if you look at my footage, you'll see it as well, where the 60 frames per second of it all, and I was playing this on PC, so I think I was averaging around 88 to 90. I think in some places I was almost hitting 150 frames per second. That smoothness matters more than resolution in this game, way more than most games that I've played. It's so interesting, like the way it moves and the way that everything is black and white and it's raining and all that aesthetic. It almost, when it's moving smoothly enough, it makes it look like the game is absolutely real and you're literally controlling a real character rather than a hand-drawn something, right? It really transitions because they took the color away, right? It gives you that, it gets you to be able to be closer to almost realism, because obviously when you add color, you can never mimic it to realism as it should be. But in black and white, it's easier to fool. And there were certain instances where I was just like, I was mesmerized. Graphically, wow. Like, it is a cut above. It is, and like I said, it took me 2 sittings to finish it. I didn't get everything. I still have collectibles and stuff I have to collect. But it took me about 4 hours and 16 minutes to finish it. It's a small little game, but it's, pretty meaty if you take your time. I played through the whole thing. So, if you do it in small spurts, it'll take you a while to get through. What I will say, what brings this down a notch to me, and I think that's probably where Deploy is also probably heading, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, Deploy, the controls need a bit of tightening. They need a bit of work. This is a game where you definitely need your parry to be on point, but their parry system, the way they have set it up, does not line up correctly. So usually in many games where you have these parry systems, they usually give you like kind of a wink, right before your enemy strikes, the weapon will glint or something, it'll shine, and that, see, you even see it on in the footage I see here. As soon as you see it's shining, that's when you're supposed to be, hitting the block button real quick to parry. It doesn't work that way. Realistically, they want you to parry way before he starts striking. Even though it says wait until the glint, it never works that way. If you do, you're hit. If you wait, you're hit. You always have to be way before. And if you've played games with a lot of parries and you're used to it, the FromSoft game, the Samurai FromSoft game, the name escapes me at this moment. Sekiro comes to mind, where their parry was also tight, difficult to master, but it was tight. So once you learned it, you knew it, and it was great. This one, you can learn it, meaning you get used to, I see before he's about to strike, I'll just hit the block even before. But when there's like multiple enemies on screen, and in the later game, there are lots of enemies on screen, it's too much to think about, I have to hit the button before he strikes. And to add to that, they also have this method, they also have this system where you have to turn around yourself to potentially avoid incoming enemies. And later in the game, once you've beaten it to a certain extent, they do that. Once you've played it to a certain extent and you've unlocked it, they give you the ability to block wherever it's coming without you manually doing it. But most of the game is you manually doing so. And if you manually do so multiple times, and there's so many enemies around you, and you're remembering to parry beforehand, it's not good. It's not good. It's just the for as great as the game looks, and the story is quite interesting. It wasn't like overly surprising, but I thought it was interesting way they took it. They took it in a very interesting direction that I didn't expect. Right? I saw this and I thought this was a Ghost of Tsushima simulator. It's not quite that. There's a little bit differences to it, but it was quite interesting. If you have Game Pass, it is 100% worth your try, right? It might click with you. You might go, what the heck is Captain Keys talking about? It's a great game. I don't know what you're talking about. And if that's the case, hey, good on you. I enjoyed it. I finished it. So I did like it as well. But as successful as it seemingly is, because people are really talking about it and it's getting that attention it deserves, I'm hoping that means there's some tweaks and some patches to come. Mr. Belvedere was really cool in suggesting that maybe put a patch in a what do you call it, a new game plus mode where the blood only is colored and everything else is black and white still. That'd be really cool, right?
Yeah. And
then maybe at the same time do a bit of tweaking to these controls, because it lets the rest of the presentation down a bit, in my opinion. But by and large, it is straight up beautiful. That's all I have to say about it. It is absolutely fascinating that such a small team was able to do, see, in these moments here that we're looking on screen, you can see, yeah, it's a cartoon, whatever, but depending on when you look at it, sometimes it's like you are watching that movie in the 90s with the blurry screen, and you're just like, I'm back there. I'm 19, I'm 16, I'm watching this again. It's amazing. So yes, if you haven't been watching it, I should say, if you haven't been playing it, do yourself a favor, give it a try. I think you'll definitely enjoy it. It is enjoyable to Deploy, as says, and he agrees as well. So that's what I've been playing. That, And actually, you know what? Before we switch to our stories, because we have a lot of stories, let me real quick touch on another game that I've been playing, which I won't touch too much on it because I spoke about this when it was just in demo form. And unfortunately, we are in a world where we're inundated with big games. So these small, death's door like gems may come and go without the attention they deserve. But I said it before and I'll say it again. I thought the demo was brilliant and the full game is even better. Loot River, ladies and gentlemen. Loot River. If you haven't played it, you really should do yourself a favor and play it. It is like it is the season of the FromSoft like, I will call it. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same like Tunic, where it's a different game, different aesthetic, but they borrow so much from that FromSoft DNA that you're just like, yo, I know how this game. The camera's different. It's more pixel art than anything else. But at the end of the day, this game is hard as nails, man. But it's fun. Like, if you fail, it was your failure. You can cheese it because they know it's difficult. They let you cheese it because sometimes the enemy numbers they throw at you, you're just like, nope, I am not going there. But you have no choice because that is the only way forward. So as you can see here, you're in a river and you have these little rafts and you're kind of Tetrising your way through. Shout out to Pixelbit G for joining us. Good morning, sir. I hope you're doing well. So as you can see from the screen, this is what got me. I consider, and spoiler alert, I consider Tetris to be like objectively the greatest game ever made. Everybody has different games. I love many other games. I love it, but Tetris is the game.
And the lie detector test determined that was a lie.
Oh, no. On a desert island, you have Tetris, you will never need another game for the rest of your life. I played OG Tetris on my black and white Game Boy for what seems to be about 4 or 5 years with no other game, and it never got old. This game is literally Tetris with hard knocks combat on top. So I'm there for it. This is great. So half of the game you spend like avoiding, how do I get there? How do I kill these guys without hurting myself? And everything is like could kill you, right? And then the second half of it is spent, how do I Tetris my way through this weird water level, and get my platform to the destination where I want to be. And of course, every time you die, they take you to this hub world where you can do additional purchases. It is the FromSoft formula, but done in a 2D pixel art, with a very cool kind of Tetris-y aesthetic. So again, another Game Pass joint. If you haven't tried it, do yourself a favor. This game is brilliant. I love it. The demo alone I played for 2 hours. This I don't foresee myself beating it because it's a very difficult game. There are classes, the different weapons that change up your class style. You could, as you can see here, there's some RPG elements. You can, just like FromSoft, you can, throw your points into dexterity, throw your points into strength, and all that magic becomes a factor. Weapons become a factor. It is a FromSoft like. So I've been playing this. I don't know how long I will be playing it. I am enjoying the heck out of it, but every once in a while you got to put it down because it gets very frustrating. So it is what it is. But yes, so that is what I have been playing. We can move quickly along because we have a lot of stories to discuss this week. And I will tell you, I may not have all of the stories ahead of me, all of the stories in front, because there's just so much to discuss. And as y'all know, for those who watch this show, I'm in the middle of a construction zone. I'm close to being done. As you can see, we are now in a room that just kind of looks like a doctor's office, but this is my office. And you'll see some lighting and some stuff come in here soon. But because of that, I haven't been keeping my ear to the street as much as I usually do. But even in that, I was, there are certain news stories that you just couldn't avoid this week. So I say all that to say, chat, if there's something that we're not talking about that you want to hear us discuss, you know how the show is, put it in the chat, talk about it. We will definitely mention it, but let's get started with some of the stories.
I feel like you're giving J-Mo Money too much leeway to bring up some Sonic slander. So we're not accepting.
We're accepting what's new, what's out there this week. Welcome, Eternal Umber. Thank you, sir, for pulling up.
Okay, I have something because I don't know if this was on the list you sent of topics.
Okay.
FTC is reviewing Sony's purchase of Bungie.
And bam, sir. That is exactly the first topic I was there to discuss. Good
beautiful,
job.
beautiful, beautiful.
Beautiful.
That's how segues work, people.
Indeed. So
my question before you start this, I want you to explain it, but just off the top, I saw an article saying that this could potentially delay the deal by as much as 6 months. Now, if the FTC is reviewing this, does that mean
did they seriously have Adam Conover speak to the FTC chair? Oh my God. Oh, that's the worst. Oh Lord, help us. I didn't even see this part. You're seeing my live reaction on screen. Oh,
hold on a minute. Oh my God. And
right?
then Lena Khan.
Right?
These goddamn liberals. No, listen. Listen.
I didn't even see this. Like, what the heck?
Anyway.
Well, I guess now we know why they're scrutinizing the Activision thing so much. But anyway, here's the thing. My first question is, does this preclude or prevent Sony? I know it doesn't like by law prevent them, but I'm wondering if now that this is being reviewed and it seems that the FTC is taking a very keen eye on the video game industry, because why not focus there?
I wouldn't say why not focus there. It's probably because a lot of money is being spent here, like in large quantities and a short amount of time. So it's kind of bringing it up to the forefront. It's putting it on the radar to a lot of money people who don't give to, about games, right? It's all of a sudden billions upon billions are being spent here and there, and all the money men are going, what's going on over there? Call it what? What's going? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
so
it's happening.
So is Sony now going to be, or just prudently hold themselves off from looking at other acquisitions until this gets the?
Well, I mean,
clear?
Okay. So. And I haven't read through the entire thing.
Can you scroll down a little bit? I just want to read the tweet. I just saw Adam Conover and kind of rolled my eyes.
This is just the unfortunate side effect of the, he is that loudest voice. So all of a sudden he gets a voice at the table because he was the loudest voice. This tells you she doesn't know what she's talking about, because if she did, she would have gotten somebody better to represent. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, so in the long term, I don't foresee this delaying any of the deals, right? I really don't. But to your point, Everborn, it's like she's trying, and salute to you, Pixelbit. He said the same thing. Lena wants to be somebody really important. The deal will not be touched. But a lot of political ink will be spilled. A lot of blah, blah, blah will be had. That part's not where I foresee there being ramifications here. The deals will all go through. Even the Activision Blizzard deal, I'm confident ultimately it will go through with little to no concessions made. Shout out to the man Hustle Motivate for pulling up. Welcome, good sir. So I personally don't think that it will, this is gloom and doom. I just think it's very interesting because until now, it seemed in the Twitter gaming conversation, it's almost like the FTC was only on Microsoft's back and was incapable of coming after Sony or anyone else. And now it's like, well, maybe
that's fine. Listen, the FTC, Lena Khan's, they're doing what they got to do. But who the hell is Adam Conover, and why is anybody listening to him?
Well, but this is the problem, right? This is the problem. This is the fundamental issue. This is the reason why people go on the internet and do and say very stupid shit. My only swear for the day. I apologize. The reason why they do that, the reason why they go out of their way to be as foolish as possible on the internet, is because if they catch enough likes and retweets, all of a sudden those who don't know Lena Khan deems you as somebody important and then has you represent like the people, which is, if she spoke to anyone, it'd be like, get this carnival barker out of here. What are you? But okay, I digress. So and this is why whenever these conversations come up, I love watching whenever the Congress or somebody brings all the tech giants to Congress to have we're going to talk to you guys about tech. I always love that because it's like, why is it that my iPhone can hear me even when I turn the screen off? And then either like Facebook or one CEO has to go, sir, well, that is a GPS function, and our controls have nothing to do. It's like they have to teach these guys what technology is and what it means, so they get to get away with it rather than asking the questions that actually matter.
The CEO of Apple, why is my Gmail not working?
Yes, exactly. Stupid. And I'm just like, why didn't you ask your intern to give you the questions? Because they have answers. They have the right questions. You don't know what you're talking about. Don't ask this person about a GPS function when he's the owner of Facebook. What's wrong with you?
But here's the thing, though. I don't think Lena Khan is one of those people, though. Right?
So why do you think she gave him this voice? I think it's because of the big hay that his last post, conjured. For those who aren't in the gaming streets, when you hear this make big hay and you hear a lot of likes and retweets, again, he becomes a leader in the community because you don't know any better.
Yeah, but again, I do think she knows better. But you have to understand that this falls in line with her
with with her agenda already.
I don't like the term agenda because it has a stink to it.
It has connotations. I understand.
With what she's trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Adam Conover becomes the useful idiot.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting.
What I'm saying is, right. I'm just saying, don't sleep on Lena Khan. She could be a thorn in the side of a lot of these corporate mergers.
Just by her role itself, like dictates that term. She can know or not know anything, but just the role and her part in this process makes her pivotal to the process.
Yeah, but I'm saying I think she does know. I'm saying
she's doing it on purpose. Basically,
yes.
What you're saying. She's being malicious.
And malicious is a word. Maybe.
Well, she's trying to appease all sides of the.
No, she's not. She's trying to appease one very specific side.
So you think she's on his side?
I think she's on her side,
and her side kind of speaks similarly to what he's spouting currently
at the moment. So he's parroting something they've been saying. Look, she's on the AOC side. She's on the progressive side. She's on that side. They have a thing. They're against these things, and he's saying something like that she can use to hopefully, I think, in her estimation, use to garner support for what she's trying to accomplish. So use this idiot.
And now, and all your points right now, seriously, absolutely valid, and I do take them. But doesn't that kind of look like now since these idiots who tend to be useful tend to be on one side versus another, it looks like now those powers are working against them because now they're kind of going against their own plastic box of favor. No?
Yeah, but who's okay? When we say sides, are we talking about council war sides or are we talking about like political sides? I don't think Lena Khan cares about.
I don't care. Lena Khan. I don't think Lena Khan cares either way. Whichever side they see it as big tech taking over in general.
Right.
I get that,
and that's what they're pushing back against. And if they can use someone who's a
useful idiot who has a big voice, then they will do that. Yeah, 100%.
Exactly.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is like those folks who were the useful idiots who were out there going, look, I'm going to use my platform to kind of poo-poo, let's say, Game Pass or the idea of monopolies or monopsonies and all of that. Now it looks like that power is being used against you because now your favorite plastic box is also being targeted. Rather than saying, hey, I'm going to get this Game Pass deal stopped or I'm going to get this ABK thing stopped. Now it's like, well, if you're doing that, they're looking at Destiny 2. They're looking at all the various other deals. They're looking at, who says they won't be looking at Embracer Group? Who says they won't be looking? You know what I'm saying? Like because that door is now open, it's not just open to the $1 trillion company you love to hate. It's open to all of them, which might be a problem. Do we disagree?
No. I think it's always one of those things where it's like kind of like they need to be careful of what they ask for. Like all of those that wanted the ABK deal to kind of fail, I always warn them. It's like, well, if it does fail and Activision goes bankrupt, guess who has all the money to buy up all the IP? So then they still can get the stuff. It's just that there'll be a fire sale, and then the FTC really won't have much to be able to intervene at that point. And you probably lose out even more so for the fact that now Activision would go under. So
yeah,
it's just for those that champion a particular box and then try to make it so that situation only affects the opposing box, they're now reaping what they sow, kind of thing. So
yeah, they're literally opening Pandora's box and trying to point it in a direction.
Yeah.
Supposedly Pandora's box has no direction. It opens everywhere. So be careful, right? So
exactly.
There we are. But this will be interesting to see, especially if you think about it, right? The FTC and people have been all like, oh, this will be interesting because they're doing it to Microsoft. Microsoft has always had a leg to stand on about hey, we're not even second place. We're third. And doing what we're doing just to continue to compete rather than to own everything, right? So if that is a stand that they're standing on and still the waters are shaky because some of the best of us in this community, people like Hogue Law and them, they're saying 70-30 when it was 80-20 before. It's still a high probability, but it's still shakier than it used to be. Then you would think that the first party, the one in first place, buying up 6 studios in a year and now talking Destiny, Bungie and all these other things, investing $1 billion in Epic, that stuff might start, bubbling up to the surface because they are in first place already anyway, right? So it's surprising that this is the first time I'm hearing about the FTC looking at that. It took them a year. And how many studios did they buy last year? 6 or 5?
At least 5.
So this whole thing is about to get very interesting for every big platform out here that's doing very interesting things. We're about to see, what all of this will mean for them, right? But if there's not much else to discuss about it, it's just one of those things you got to keep an eye on. We'll see where it goes. So far, it's just a preliminary kind of investigation. They haven't really gone deep as just yet. Yeah, they're taking opening arguments. They're letting this Carnival Barker speak.
Well, okay, hold on a minute. I do want to because I just went on mute and listened to what he was saying here. And what
it's a minute and 3 seconds. I don't know if
it's
you'll
actually
be able to hear the audio.
Minutes. It's 6 minutes.
Oh, is it 6 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then we may not be able to do that on the show.
All right, which is fine. But he's here.
Yeah.
I want to be clear here so that we are giving out accurate information.
Yeah, please, yes.
Here he is speaking about entertainment as a whole. He does not bring up Microsoft, Sony, anything like that. And he's talking about his experience, about how Time Warner canceled his show when he did some investigative journalism on how the internet works and cable providers do to kind of, all the ISPs are shitty,
of course.
Right? So he was saying when mergers when these mergers happen, you have to look at
be careful, basically,
whose voices will be silenced, what they will do. So that's what this specific incident's about. It's about so her quoting him. He didn't say anything as
specifically related to that thing.
This was.
But can we agree?
Actually, well, hold on a second. Everything he said in this clip is specifically geared towards he's saying
entertainment business,
but he's actually talking about TV.
Sure, understood. But I guess my question to you is, can we agree, and this is hypothesis on both our parts, I guess, but can we agree that the reason why he specifically is given this platform to speak is because of his prior
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
So he would be able to speak on this topic. I know that he was an actor that got kicked off his show, blah, 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 blah. But I thought his claim to fame in this specific arena was to speaking on the whole, monopoly.
I don't think so. Thing. Not after watching the clip and what, because I watched his whole statement there.
Okay, great.
And they had people come up and speak. He was one of them, and he was talking about AT&T Time Warner and terrible things that they did. So he's saying that these things need to be any large
needs to be scrutinized well before we agree. Okay, if that is the case, then in this specific instance, he's not being a Carnival Barker, and I appreciate that I'm being.
He's off the hook
stand
this time.
I stand corrected.
That does not get him off the hook for the dumb shit
for the prior stupidities, but in this instance, we bypass his initial stupidity. Understood. Okay, and I will go back and I'll watch the 6-minute thing because I really want to understand and dig through where we are with it. But it is interesting to see just his face after everything is done. When you see his face, you're just like, But thankfully,
I also don't think because she's trying to get some laws changed apparently. So she is seemingly on board with what what's her name is. Jesus Christ, why can't I think of her name? She ran for president.
Massachusetts Senator.
Yes.
Warren.
Yes. Warren, yeah.
Warren, yeah.
She's seemingly on board with the thinking that the laws need to be changed around what the purview of the FTC is. And will they be able to change those laws in time for the closing of both the Sony and Microsoft acquisitions?
Doubtful.
Who the hell knows? And do they want to rock that boat with this midterms coming up? I don't know.
I don't think so. It is interesting. Hey, it is interesting political theater. Will it amount to an actual structural change? Like, if y'all didn't do this for the internet itself and you just let Title II become a thing of the past, this is not what's going to change it, right? Like the internet itself was supposed to be what was gonna like fundamentally like drive you to make, you know, fundamental sweeping changes.
I just don't know. With all the other things that are very prominent in the news right now, I don't know how.
Yeah, this is just a little bit of
get this done. Yeah, if you catch my drift.
Exactly. But yes, let us move along. Web Dave, welcome Outbreak Podcast. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. I recently watched I watched his Outbreak Podcast interview with Dealer. Awesome interview. Like, so many interesting nuggets in there. Welcome, good sir. Check out his channel. It's really awesome. We should have you on the show as well pretty soon. That'd be really cool. But anyway, let us move on. I'm going to keep a close eye on this. I'm sure this is not the first time we're going to hear about it. But yeah, it should be interesting to see where this part of the puzzle goes while Microsoft's on a parallel track doing what they're doing. But let us move on, because I want to talk a little bit about this whole Fortnite thing. Okay. And when it came out this like a couple days ago, people were like, "Oh, that's interesting." Yeah. But the big story, you know, the Embracer Group story was like the big thing. I think this is kind of bigger than that one, honestly. But we'll get into that. So first and foremost, right off the top, hey, PlayStation, let's announce Microsoft has
hey, take
not
the
only
chat really quick, both of you guys.
Oh yeah, of course, yes. Microsoft has not only allowed Fortnite on the streaming service. This will be the first free-to-play game to get on their xCloud streaming service, but you can now play this game without even having a Game Pass subscription. So it is free to play for all, whether you have a Game Pass subscription or not, right? And what does that do? It circumvents iOS's tax laws, right? It also does it on Android, but on Android you could just install the independent but
you got to go to like
launcher.
You got to do weird stuff to make that
happen. No, but the point is, on Android, if you want to take additional steps to circumvent it, you can. On iOS, this right here is the only game in town. Only way. You want to play Fortnite on your phone, you got to get into it through xCloud. And you don't even have to be a Game Pass subscriber. Interesting nuggets, right? And I will let you guys, I want to hear what you guys think about it. But before I do that, let me add one layer to this. Mr. Tim Sweeney has been on the internet, and for those who don't know, Tim Sweeney, founding member of Epic Games, CEO, all of that. This man has been out there being like, the only way I can describe it is messy on the internet, like messy with this news on the internet, talking about, you know, come at me, bro, basically, with all of this, right? And of course, the trolls come out, right? And they start pushing him, and he pushes right back, you know. Meanwhile, in iOS, people are getting their Spotify apps removed when they install Apple Music. You know, he's twisting the knife in there real quick. So he's out there really like going, you know, challenging Apple, saying, well, they haven't been able to block it yet. We'll see what they do. Things like that, right? So I will go to you first, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. When this news hit, like when you heard about it, what did you think? Is it kind of one of those things for you where it's like, well, Fortnite might not be my game, so okay, that's interesting, move on? Or is this leading to something for you?
I think it's leading to something, but there's two different plays that I see here, and it's funny how we saw PlayStation invest a lot in Epic as far as for, you know, backdoor stuff, as far as whether it be store access stuff or Unreal Engine 5 stuff, and it always, you know, boggled my mind that, you know, Microsoft seems to be the biggest publisher out there that uses Unreal Engine 5. So I kind of wonder if this, kind of handshake partnership works where, okay, we're going to help out Epic because they're, a friend or an enemy of my enemy is my friend type of thing with Apple and Google.
Absolutely, yeah.
They partner up where they can now have a solid front against, Apple and Google. And then on the back end of things, since they're spending a lot of money on, licensing the Unreal Engine 5 engine for some of their games, maybe this is kind of like, well, you give us a deep price cut, we'll give you a deep price cut on Azure, shake hands, we all come out at the end, happier and more profitable at the end. And then on the flip side of things, the other aspect is whether you want to look at it as maybe the ending of Xbox Live, where that won't be a necessary, service that you'll need to play games. But this is kind of like that start where, okay, you can now play a free-to-play game on a service that, in all honesty, should be something that should be a charged service, but they're doing it for free. Yep. And it opens up the door.
I suspect
for
Epic is probably subsidizing that a bit. I think, possibly,
maybe
maybe like you're saying, maybe it's that tit for tat. Not necessarily money changing has subsidy, but we're letting your game be on iOS, which gives you more money. Maybe you forego some of those licensing fees for Unreal. Exactly. Maybe kind of one of those back and forths. Yeah. That might be an interesting place that they're going with it. I do hear you on that though, because remember when this whole fight between Apple and Epic and Google and even Microsoft started, they were on Apple, and Apple was on its own side, right? And they were saying they were doing the same thing Microsoft was doing, which they kind of were, but then Microsoft strategically went into their own app store, the non Xbox App Store, and made some tweaks to remove those restrictions, right? So now they're on the side of Epic, and so they can work together in order to move the ball forward against iOS. It'll be interesting to see where this goes, but let me correct myself just a little bit. As Pixelbit G pointed out, and he's absolutely right, you don't need any kind of a subscription, but you do need a Microsoft account. Or it doesn't even need to be a Microsoft. You could use any Gmail or email account you want, but you need to create an authenticated account within the Microsoft ecosystem before you are allowed to play this game. So yes, Epic and Fortnite get their monies, but Microsoft also gets a subscriber of sorts, or a person who has an authenticated account inside their gaming platform, which for them is major, right? You start there. Game Pass is only a small step away. Hopefully, they're thinking you might want to go there once you put your foot in the water, right? So, So I see Erodimus asking a question: can Apple block this website? Yes, they can. But if they did, oh boy, that would start up a firestorm. Because technically, you can block any website you want, but you as a platform holder are not legally allowed to do that. You're not. The internet's supposed to be open and free and clear. If you do this is when the FTC can basically take off the gloves and come after you. The EU, even if the FTC is a rubber stamper or whatever, the EU would rip you to pieces if you did that. To pieces. Because you and I've said this anecdotally before, I'll say it again. iOS, when it first came out in the EU, was made to change their ad, because in America, it was finally the internet the way it was meant to be, even though it was technically WAP at that time, which wasn't normal standard HTTP protocol. So the EU forced them to change that wording because you're lying to our
that's the WAP you meant. I was thinking of another WAP.
Nicely done. I see what you did there. Anyway, so yes, I don't foresee this being one of the things where they can be fast and loose, because if they did that, oh boy, right? It would set off like nuclear
and nobody
bombs.
likes a fast and loose WAP.
Oh my god, man. Come on now. And I'm the only one on cam to be able to see this ridiculousness. What is this? Pause. Anyway, so Everbook, what do you think of this? What is I know you think about these things as I do. What when you saw this happen, what came into your mind as far as and all of that?
I think that this is a proving ground, and why not do it with the largest game out there, one of the largest games out there, right? And what I think, and I tweeted Phil Spencer about this when a year ago when I was playing Death's Door, which was I would love to have my library of games that I've paid for that are not in Game Pass, and I'd like to access them via xCloud.
This man he's sitting there doing these transitions like a pro today. Like, damn, man, good job. Here you go.
What can I say? What can I say? Keep going. So this is the thing. If you start with Fortnite, I think Halo Infinite comes next.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's also free to play. That's right.
Right. And so now you work
followed probably closely by Roblox, because that's the only other place that you can play that. Yes, you can play it on iOS still, but it's not on PlayStation. Roblox is monster, and it's only console side.
But I think they need to open the faucet and say, if you have a digital license for something, then you can play it in xCloud.
Happening here, and
right?
I appreciate you saying that, because that is the next transition. And now we're not leaving that other story.
Right.
Well, this adds to that, but please continue.
Right.
Go ahead.
So, and once you do that, I think the shackles of local hardware subscriptions are completely taken off, and I know this is another transition that I don't mean to get to yet, but that is where your streaming puck comes in, right? And now you have what is effectively a full cloud-based console, and I've been saying this for a while now. It's not a Fire Stick competitor; it's an Apple TV competitor.
100%.
So all of your apps that run on your Xbox will run locally on this thing, but your games will run via the cloud, and you'll have access to the same store that you have today on your Series S. You buy a game, you have the license to play it on PC. If it's both, play it on the Xbox, have your cloud save, play it in the cloud. This doesn't need to be exclusive to xCloud. Now, I mean to Game Pass. Now, one interesting thing is what is a part. Obviously, you get the PC games, right? But does this in any way devalue Game Pass Ultimate? If they do that, if they remove the paywall for xCloud access?
No, not at all. I don't see that at all. No,
but it's one of the perks of Game Pass today.
True.
So hold on a minute, and just one more thing. You couple that with what many people's speculation is, that they are going to remove the paywall for online play.
Of course, yes.
So does that devalue?
I do hear what you're saying, but I don't see that taking anything away from Game Pass Ultimate, because Game Pass Ultimate also gives you access to those games in the cloud. The other games that you already own, you can get that, but you don't get access to the Game Pass game library in the cloud just because you have access to it. There are separate lanes that are filtered based on your rights access, right? It should have never been only a Game Pass Ultimate tier already anyway, right? Like it should have never done that. Like the benefit for Game Pass Ultimate as it's useful today is taking that game that you were playing on your local hardware and taking it with you, right? On the cloud, right? Once they open this up and they allow your games, your entire library to be there, unless you bought every Game Pass game, you won't see every Game Pass game, right? You'll see your Death's Door that you paid your hard-earned money for, right? You may not see Trek to Yumi because you didn't pay for that. You have to get a subscription in order to see that one in your library.
Well, hold on.
I don't see that as a problem necessarily.
But then why? And I guess that's part of what this is. I bought Death's Door and I'm a Game Pass subscriber.
Yeah.
xCloud.
There are many games. There are many games that I bought
in xCloud.
Well, that's probably the reason why this is being done, because a lot of us have Game Pass games that we own. And the question is, why the heck, if it's on Game Pass in the cloud and I already owned it before it was in the cloud, like a game like Astroneer. I've owned Astroneer for many years. I've had it on PC, and of course with Play Anywhere, it's accessible anywhere, right? Great game. It's almost like your No Man's Sky, but without any of the violence. It's just all about building and constructing and spaceships, and it's really cool. You should check it out. But then eventually it came on Game Pass. It's on Game Pass now, right? But when it leaves Game Pass, I still have access to it. But it brings up a good question, which I suspect this is answering. If I already own that game and through Game Pass, I'm going to be able to play it in the cloud. Why can't I just keep playing in the cloud, whether it's on Game Pass or not? It's already on, like it's part of my library. And up until now, that was gated. And with this, they unlock that, which I think is brilliant. Now, it doesn't take anything away from Ultimate. And you might, and we don't know for sure, but Ultimate might be getting more stuff, right? I didn't add it to the docket, but there are rumors of Ubisoft Plus. They kind of said
so, EA is and I'll say it real quick. EA is exclusive. EA Play is exclusive to Ultimate, right? You don't get it with the $10 version, right?
No, it's only exclusive to Ultimate. Yeah.
Okay, so then it's fine. They can.
Let me add the little caveat, and I didn't add this to the news story because it's just a rumor, but it does work here where the what do you call it? Ubisoft NL, my Dutchies out there. Their Instagram page basically was like, oh, it's coming to Game Pass. And then people were like, huh? And then ultimately they had to go walk it back and go, well, we don't know for sure yet, blah, 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 blah. Yes. You know what I'm saying? So at some point, in the world, and you're right, Everborn, whenever you establish something, well, you get this for paying that, you get this for paying that, and then you start eroding it, there is that question of, well, you're devaluing it, even though realistically it's not. But hey, if Ubisoft Plus shows up in Game Pass, it'll come to the Ultimate tier, right? So I still think we are okay in there. We may still see some rejiggering of how the tiers work. I know that they're still bringing up the idea of the family plan and things, and that will change the equation a bit too. So I foresee that this won't be detrimental to the Ultimate tier, but let us transition.
One other thing.
Yeah, please. Yes, it's the same story, but it's more about the puck. Continue.
Right. About the removing of the online play paywall.
The play wall.
Yes. The thing is, I wonder if because of the Activision deal, they're like, listen, we can't put the screws to the competition that much right now. Because anybody reviewing this is like, damn, you guys got the money to just get rid of a whole revenue stream to make your competition look worse, right? So maybe they have to finish the Activision deal before doing something like removing the paywall. But I suspect by the time that deal is done, you may hear there are 35, 40 million people in Game Pass, and that might be the number. Right, because we all suspect there's a number before you get rid of that paywall that makes it non-existent. So basically, it'll be like, well, look, we only have like 5 million paying gold people that haven't converted already. Let's let them off the hook. It's 30 million a year, whatever it is, right?
Whatever it is,
we can lose that. Right?
Yeah, that's what did one of these reputable, I think CNBC or somebody, one of these reputable news outlets said the equivalency of Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard when it's all said and done, after all the zeros you've heard after it, it'll be like a Starbucks run for Microsoft.
Yeah,
that's $70 billion, which they've already made back.
Right, and so the puck I think is super interesting.
Let's get into that.
As far as I'm concerned, if it is as I have been envisioning it for the last year now,
and I've agreed with you. Yep.
Right. The puck,
not a stick, a puck, not a stick. Yep.
Think if you have an Apple TV, think of it as a competitor to that.
I think it might be smaller than the Apple TV, but still puck size.
Yeah.
We'll see about that.
Well, okay, but at least not as heavy, because that thing is a monster. But okay, continue.
It's a puck. No, that said, I think you make something like that, and honestly, you market that as a 99 or a 149 because it's going to come with a controller.
Yeah,
right?
I think it'll be subsidized at 99. They'll take a loss on the controller because they want this everywhere. They will take a loss a bit on the controller. And besides, that controller is so ubiquitous. It's been around for so long. There are versions where they will sell without the controller because they know you probably already have one.
I mean, yeah, I think that version will be 99, but I think the one with the controller is going to be 149. That's my guess.
Okay, yeah, it could be. That is a possibility. The only reason why,
I would think here's the thing. Let me just bore that out. How much is an Apple TV 4K right now?
Yeah, but you're not comparing.
I think it's 119 or something.
It's 179.
Oh, wow.
Let me confirm that. I'm gonna do my Googles real quick.
Well, but Apple doesn't live in that subsidy world. Apple lives in the it has a half-eaten Apple logo on it, and that alone costs an extra $50 before we even tell you what technology you're buying. So you kind of don't compare them to, Microsoft, who will take the short-term loss for the long-term gain. They're different companies there, different philosophies of implementation usually, But no,
so it is
Apple TV,
it's $179 and for the 32 gig model, and a $200 for the 64 model. So, but that's not coming with a controller. So I think it comes with, I think $99, no controller, just your TV remote, and
3 months of Game Pass.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh yeah, it comes with like 6 months, 3 months, something Game Pass, something.
I think it'll come with 3 months. It'll be $99, and if you want it with the controller, they'll have a bundle with different storage sizes.
I'll go one better for you. Not just the controller, any Bluetooth compatible, just like they've done on everything else. You can play right now. Game Pass, you can play with a PlayStation controller if you so choose. They have
no. But this is what I'm saying. I don't think they do that with the puck. I think they do that with the puck. Well, this is what I'm saying. I think they position the puck. I think that's how the app will work. But I think they position the puck as the same way they would position a Series S. It's just the cloud. Call it a Series C. Not saying that that's what they call it, but they position this thing as a console.
Yeah.
Right.
And just so we make it clear for those who may or may not have heard the news, this is part of what they're calling the Xbox Everywhere initiative. For the company that's bad at naming things, that's a damn good name. I got to give them credit because they had Xbox Anywhere, which was like, hey, anywhere, and now Everywhere, which makes absolute sense. Whoever made that Xbox,
it should be called Xbox. I'm on your ass.
That's absurd. No more. You're done. You're done.
But so I think they actually position this and market it as though it is a $99 console. And and the controller.
One thing real quick. The person who made that Xbox Everywhere name, he needs to be the person who names the next console. Fire that other dude. Whoever made Xbox Everywhere. So he gets to name the next console. Continue.
I think it will be called an Xbox Series something, whatever letter.
Oh yeah. The Series start is going to continue.
Right. So this will be another addition to it. Now, the other and going forward, I think they're going to, even next generation, they're going to have 3. It's your cloud version, your S version,
big dog, the middle dog, and the cloud version. 100%.
So now $99, right? $149, I think, with a controller. But the reason I say you'll only be able to use the Xbox controller with it is because it will be positioned as a console and it will use their proprietary protocol.
Okay. Yeah,
it is going to be a console. That's what I think. A puck.
Well, okay. So here's where console. Here's where I push back just a tiny bit. Okay. Right. It could be you could absolutely be right, and I could be wrong, and that's fine. But as a person who spent a lot of time in xCloud, in the cloud gaming scene, right? I've spent a lot. I was part of the beta program way before it was a thing. I still play it now.
It has the same UI as your Xbox.
It does
now.
It definitely does. Yes. I have played it. I played on my Steam Deck now. Everywhere I've played this thing. Latency, depending on the game, is still a concern. Their biggest franchise, Halo, cannot be played well using that tool currently. It can be played, it works, but clearly it is a step down from how you can't just pick it up and play and you're just in there. You have to basically, especially if you're going multiplayer, you have to understand that concessions must be made in order to do this. If you're playing Trek to Yumi, if you're playing Loot River, if you're playing a bunch of these indie things, it's great. It's no problem. Pick it up, you're good to go. But that AAA, really, really, really high poly count, really, really intensive, 60 frames per second is important. It becomes a problem. So because of that, I can foresee a world where I don't know, but they transition to that Stadia direct to DC tech.
Now, how does that explain that to me? Because before you do explain it, I think this is part of where their dynamic latency input tech. That's what this is for. That's what tech was designed for.
That could be.
So they can kind of predict where you're going to go. That means they can send the signal to the server almost before you even press it. So by the time you do press it, it seems like they've solved the latency issue, but
yeah,
really,
no, you're right. You're absolutely right. That could definitely be a circumventing way of doing it. 100%. I didn't think of that. You were absolutely right.
Now, explain the Stadia thing, because I don't understand how that works.
Holy crap. Okay. Quick aside.
Breaking news.
We see an image of a GameStop in Germany showing
Titanfall 3. Yeah, we'll see
in Q2 2022. We shall see. Anyway, let's get back on topic. To explain the whole Stadia thing, what they did, and I'll be broad in it, but it'll give you the rough idea of what it is. Usually, you have one connection to the server, right? You have your local machine connected to the server. Let's say it's connected by IP address. It authenticates by IP. It's more complicated than that, but we'll keep it basic at that level right now. So everything, communication, just like you do on your home PC, you can have a billion PCs in your house. As long as they're all connected to your local network and you shoot it out to the internet sees one IP, right? From your house. What Stadia has effectively did was they gave it two IPs. So it separated the controller from the actual console and gave it a separate MAC address. So instead of like one console with its peripherals communicating with the server, it's the consoles communicating with the server, so you see the visuals, but the controller is independently also communicating with the server, so that with the cloud server, so that it sends the instructions to the controller directly rather than through the console, which increases latency.
Right. Okay.
That's why they could do, I'm playing on my phone, transition to my TV, transition to any other device, because the controller doesn't care what screen.
Yeah, but that seems like a fundamental architecture thing that I don't know.
And that's why I wasn't sure about it. But you reminding me of that low latency addition they added to both new and old controllers tells me that's their ace in the hole. They'll go there instead of the Stadia option, and you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah,
but that's all going to depend on how good that AI is to predict, because you don't want it thinking.
I will say though, and shout out to Jez Corden who said this on the Xbox too. I think it was yesterday. This made big news. This has been the news for months already. Like Jez said this many months ago. Even Phil Spencer himself said, "Oh, it'll be within a year," and that was 2 years ago almost. So, like, now let me
do Elon Musk time estimates. If you're
let me do a little bit of tea leaf reading myself. I could be wrong, but let me do some tea leaf reading myself, okay? And I saw it in the chat a few times, so I will bring that up as well. People were talking about, oh, well, weren't they supposed to do something with LG? Aren't they supposed to do something with Samsung? I suspect that was the original plan, but then they started looking at the hardware that's online, that's available to consumers today. And if you don't know this, your best, most amazing LG or Samsung OLED that has all the bells and whistles and this tip of the spear as far as technology is concerned, they most likely have terrible Wi-Fi radios. They most likely have terrible Bluetooth radios, right? And obviously they won't have the proprietary protocol that Microsoft uses for its controllers. So it'll have to depend on Bluetooth. And if they're depending on Bluetooth or depending on open standard, you need to have Wi-Fi 6. Or an Ethernet connection that can be definitely utilized. You need to have a Bluetooth 5 or the most latest and greatest that can cut out all that latency. And it looks like when you look in the environment, based on the TVs that are out there, there's a very thin layer on top of folks who have that, ready for next gen, 120 frames per second, HDR equipped monster ready. Everyone has standard, great looking TVs with terrible Wi-Fi and Bluetooth radios. So I suspect they were, because you can, like today, you can pick up the Game Pass app, find your Android powered TV of choice. Samsung has Android TVs, Sony has Samsung TVs, Android based operating TVs, and you can sideload the Game Pass app onto your TV today and play today. Right? It's not the greatest experience, and the latency is apparent. And I suspect they saw that. And there were more of those, we don't really care because they're Wi-Fi radios. Nobody's going to really use them. Oh, no one's really going to use them because, Netflix buffers their content, so it's not real time. They don't need it to be the fastest thing in the world. Bluetooth is usually backed for their remote controls, and they don't need it to be the fastest thing in the world. So they save bucks by cheaping out on those things. And those are the things that Microsoft needs most importantly, because that's what keeps your latency down. So I suspect they were thinking of just putting an app on the phone, app on the TVs a year ago. But after seeing all this, they're like, well, we're going to have to build a puck because we can't depend on the manufacturers. They are still working with Samsung, I know, and they are still working with LG, I know. But so far, I haven't seen an app on my LG TV, which tells me that they don't want to depend on that hardware. They want their own hardware.
Well, right? to that end, right? And I don't know, maybe you just spoke about this a little bit. You'll learn once you get into this real TV buying game that not every Ethernet port in your TV is built the same, right?
The only thing TV manufacturers care about, the only thing the TV manufacturers care about is the screen that you're looking at, the picture. Is it beautiful? Do you love it? Does it represent a cut above what you used to get? Yes. Everything else in the background gets cheap
right?
Now.
And
Wi-Fi radios, Ethernet,
100, 100 by 100, those cheap Wi-Fi and Ethernet chips that they can get. That's good enough to do 4K
Bluetooth
streaming.
Radios, which aren't very good.
To video streaming all they need is that to be good enough so that you won't have your picture degraded. It's not going to be good in terms of latency. Now the thing is,
hold on. I have to do it. I'm sorry.
TCOs.
J Mum Money out here challenging the Iron Lords over here, getting those TCO dudes.
The joints that's on the floor at the front of the store.
Shout out to King David.
Did they have to go to the back to get your TV? No. The thing is, did they help you to your car with the TV? Right?
Or did they have to while they walk over his TV and go to get the one in the back? They get yours that's on.
Right? Did you get the TV where they don't check your receipt? Okay. All right. No, that's it. I'm done. But the thing is,
CJ More Money, you broke my show. Stop that.
with the puck, I think another piece of it is going to be if you really want to have that cloud experience, right? A good cloud experience, play with Ethernet, right?
Yes.
And they'll be able to control that and have a solid experience. So you'll need Wi-Fi 6. But the series consoles today don't even have Wi-Fi 6. So are they going to opt for that, right?
Although their Ethernet is like, and that's so funny. Their Ethernet port, which nobody talks about, right? Like, and we hear all these back and forth with the console wars and blah blah blah. People go, "Hey, the PS5 has Wi-Fi 6. Why doesn't the Xbox? The Xbox should have Wi-Fi 6 as well." Their Ethernet port, the throughput of their Ethernet port is far greater than any other console I've ever seen. I think it even beats the PlayStation one, even though PlayStation obviously has Wi-Fi 6. It's just different decisions they made. They put more of their emphasis on the Ethernet port because let's be real, Wi-Fi 5 has not been like reached to its max by any normal user. I have a Wi-Fi 6 radio, but that's because I'm using VPN and I'm working on the internet and all that. Normal people never hit the threshold of, okay, now we need Wi-Fi 6 because we've saturated the Wi-Fi 5 threshold. So, I think that's the reason why they made that decision to put more of the money on the port, because that port is much faster compared to an Xbox One and a 360, screaming speeds when you plug in your Ethernet, right? But yeah, the Wi-Fi is still, it's all right. It's mid, as they say. But no, I completely agree with you, everyone.
Ethernet port is going to be key to this thing. So, yes. But like I said, my prediction is that you will only be able to use the Xbox controller with it, and it will be the proprietary protocol, and it will utilize dynamic latency input, which you can't use with the
absolutely right. You are absolutely right. I completely forgot about that, but you are absolutely right. And because they use those proprietary protocols, that puck will also be able to use this, like the Xbox headsets. They'll be able to use all the other proprietary stuff.
That proprietary protocol ain't that good, but that's another story.
That's neither here nor there, but that's what they will want to leverage. So no, I do hear you on that. So
and it will be interesting. You will not be able to tell the difference in terms of the system UI across your Series S, X, and whatever this one is called.
Yep. And of course, they also obviously announced once again that Samsung app and all of that. But I suspect probably the reason why they didn't just like open it and make it available is probably because Samsung has most likely agreed to use better hardware in their TVs. So then they're okay with just using the app. Because if you use bad hardware, then the app will be available, but it'll give you a bad experience, right? So
yeah,
if Samsung is saying we'll take the app, then that means they've agreed with Microsoft that we'll use those good radios so that it won't need the hardware, I suspect.
Yeah, I think like whatever the C2 is or the C3 is on the LG side, or whatever the Samsung TVs are called. I don't know their naming convention, but they are going to be working with them on the hardware side, so it has what it needs, so that they can do a dual marketing blitz. But again, you want to control that if you're not in the market to buy a new $2,000 TV. Here's the puck.
Something a puck. Exactly. 100%. 100%.
I don't think it's going to be something that's available in the regular Samsung store if you have the cheap TVs.
Exactly. Yeah. It probably has to check to see if you have certain requirements as far as hardware before it allows that app to be available to you, something like that. But no, I do agree with you on that, and it'll be interesting to see like how that works, how that experience works, because Microsoft has had that experience in the past where, hey, we leverage our partners, and then HP comes out with a POS laptop and everybody says Windows sucks. You know what I mean?
Right. So they're not going to put this on your Roku TV. Right?
Exactly.
It's not going to be
100%. Yes.
So you know what? TV shaming podcast. That's what
hey, we weren't going after them TCL dudes. We weren't doing that. But you know what? I honestly think that we should transition to the big topic of conversation this week, because this will kind of go for a while, I suspect. So let us talk about Embracer Group, which I feel, for a moment, let me take my victory lap real quick, because I have been screaming from the ceiling about Embracer for quite some time. First, nobody knew who they were.
Oh my God, here we go.
Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
My eyes are
when Sega is bought by Microsoft, I'm just gonna put myself on mute and do this. And
no, you're gonna have to take like a month off of the show and just let me host
watch you go off crazy, and that's cool.
And I'm not having no guests either. No offense,
it's just gonna be you go.
That's me for 1 month straight every Saturday, just here.
I told you.
Podcast.
But so I won't be that messy. I will just say they out here, and I knew they were out here. I just knew it. They have been out here gobbling up things left and right for a long time.
Pause.
It's just pause. It's just what they've been gobbling up is not anything anybody else wanted. Pause. For a while, right? And that's the reason why Everborn and others had the righteous ability to clown them. Like, well, what games do they offer? They offer a lot of games that a lot of Game Pass and other AA game services and games themselves play, right? They have been able to. You ask yourself how they're able to afford, all of these studios. It's because they out here quietly, gobbling up, swallowing up
garbage. No,
not garbage. No. I bet if you look in their IP list,
don't rush me on the stage.
You will find one or two that you'll go, hey, there's potential there, right? It's how they use that potential. But I've always known that they out here and they are serious and they are coming for you. They want to come for the crown. They are the new challenger. Hence the thumbnail that I use for this week. I would drop that Nintendo sound, but of course I'd probably get
hold on a minute. And you'll come to me in a second. But are they trying to take over? Because there's a lot of investment firms. There's a lot of hedge funds. Not hedge funds, but like a lot of investment firms that will do these. They see where the market is going. They've done their market research, and they say, let us scoop up everybody, right? We'll have this amazing portfolio of someone who of studios who could basically pump content into any service provided. So, hey, Amazon, you don't want to do all of this work? Apple, you don't want to do all of this work? We've done it all for you. Now buy us for 10 times what we paid.
To your point, not the second part, but the first part. To your point as to them being the flywheel in which these subscription services keep up with content. There was a time where I was testing Luna, I was testing Stadia, and I was testing Game Pass. And all three services at a certain time, this was like a year ago, had overlapping games. Not everyone, but there were a bunch of overlapping games. and there were two direct publishers that were responsible for a lot of those overlapping games. One, Ubisoft. They are out there. You want to offer them money for their games, they will give it to you. It was on Luna, it's on Stadia, it's on PlayStation. They'll take your money and they'll put your game out there. They're everywhere. And so is Embracer Group. So you're absolutely right. And it's not to be like, oh, we're money grubbing. It's more like, hey, these cool little interesting, what's the name of this game? I forget. I like one of the Embracer Group games that I played not too long ago that I thought was just so special, but I had no idea what it was until I tried it. It seemed initially like a Minecraft ripoff, if you will, but it's based on voxels. I don't know if you know voxel technology, where it's like thick, visible pixels that when you smash them, they blow.
Game or alleged 8K game?
No, I don't think it's 8K. No, the Traveler, yeah, that one. It's that aesthetic, but it's not that game. It's that aesthetic though. I see where you're going with it, and you're absolutely right. Those games like that have found a lot of voice in these streaming services, right? And by and large, even though this one is Way Forward Games, this one is 17 Team Games, all this, but when you track them, they're either Devolver or they're Embracer, very interesting little cool nugget games that won't command your attention, but when they're available in a subscription service that you can try at very little cost to yourself, you'll end up trying that and find out that game ends up being the next big thing in your life that you totally didn't know it was going to be, right? And that has happened a lot of times for me specifically with Embracer Group games. Right, they do not have like I loved what is the remastered? They called it the remastered edition. I forget the name of the game that came. It's a very old game. It used to have a big There was a big franchise. THQ used to own it, and of course, obviously, these guys went and bought up all of THQ. So they re-released it. Kingdoms of Amalur they've re-released. Both of their re-releases so far, well, more than both, but it's called Riverbond. Riverbond. The game I was talking about was called Riverbond, and I think that's an Embracer Group game. It's very interesting, very cool, very special looking thing. You would never even think to buy it unless like you really like, unless somebody has you try it and you're just like, whoa, the graphics are cool. It looks amazing. It's very fun. I honestly think with this move, they are sitting there and they're saying, hey, we have been this, we've been gathering all the resources, getting all our monies because we have Amazon paying us here for Luna for putting content into Luna. We have Stadia, Google paying us here because we're putting content into Google. We have Microsoft paying us, and now we have enough money and we're buying. But instead of staying in their AA lane, we're talking now they have all of Square's Western division, right? Now, before and I'll head to you first, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, but I will say one more time, and for us on this show, myself and Mr. Everborn Saga, we deserve a bit of a victory lap on this as well, because for a long time, we have been saying on the Square front that this is what they wanted to do. This is what they were going to do. This is what they wanted to do. And they were basically priming themselves for this eventuality.
To quote a lady in all white from The Matrix, not like this. This is not how we wanted it.
Yeah. Yes. The twist, unfortunately, of course, because we were like, yo, that's Microsoft. It's all Microsoft because, right, Microsoft themselves have a vested interest in keeping Crystal Dynamics in-house, right? Their next big thing relies on Crystal Dynamics continuing to bring their A game, right? And clearly, as soon as this news was announced, and by the way, I saw this news at 2:58 a.m. the day before, and I sent a crazy DM to the DM to Boom and the PTG crew, and I knew that the next morning when I woke up it'd be hey, and of course it was, right? So like as soon as they released that information, even before it's not like people slept on it, and in the morning when it became a news story, then the initiative came out. No. 2:57 or something like that is when that news broke. 2:59, the initiative was out there going, we see what they're doing, we love what they're doing, they're still going to do our game. Like they knew it. They knew, like, you know what I'm saying? I suspect they knew this was in the works. I suspect they had a bite at the apple first, so to speak. But of course, we know why they can't necessarily be forthcoming with buying this thing.
I don't know that they did have a bite at the apple first, but we'll talk about that when it's my turn, I think.
Yeah, you know what? Because they have been working with Crystal Dynamics on this game for a while now. I would be surprised to know that the deal was too far gone before Microsoft knew that there was a deal in place. I would be very surprised at that. But yes, we can get into that. I will leave Everborn Saga to give me his opinion, but I suspect that his opinion, at least on this, will be in agreement with me that since this has gone the way it has gone, we can now at least definitively be able to say that we don't foresee Microsoft like going into the weeds in any other deal until this thing is dry. Because if they wanted to, or if they could, this was in their vested interest. If nothing else, Crystal Dynamics was in their best interest to keep, because they're trying to avoid that Crackdown 3 situation. Obviously, contractual obligations, they made different deals. They learned their lesson. So more often than not, probably the contract states, hey, we have them. You're going to fulfill all of your contractual obligations before you take the studio and do what you're doing with it.
But then again, though, we have to remember that the bones of this game were created by an in-house studio, the initiative, right? So you will still have that continuity if the game is a success and warrants a sequel. Right. The initiative and they'll still
you answered your own question that you asked Jez Corden. Yes, you answered your own question.
They'll be fine.
They'll be fine. Exactly. So I honestly think that we, as a collective on the PTG side and all of that, we saw this coming. We've been saying this for a while. We see Square like strategically, and I don't say they don't. You called them scumbags. I agree with that notion, Everborn, but I don't think they were just being scumbags when they were doing what they were doing. They were being strategic. They were trying to tell all of their money men that, hey, we're about to cut off a limb. So let's warn you right now and tell you that limb is bad. So when we cut it off, you don't get surprised. That's what they've been doing by throwing those people under the bus, even though it was naked on its face, because every time you say bad stuff about Crystal Dynamics, we look around and go, who are you talking about? These guys are great. Did you see the last game they released? Right? And then Eidos Montreal, we go, what are you talking about? Have you seen their output? Like, why are you not seeing this? What are you saying? Right? That's what made me think, this is just strategic, because there's no reason to call them out the way they're calling them out, right? There are studios that do far less numbers than these studios do, and their publishing house like gather around them and say, we love our studios. They did great work, blah, 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 blah. These guys do great work and get thrown under the bus. So that's why I thought it was very strategic. But I will ask you, Fuzzy, what do you think of all of this? Is this okay? Are you worried about it? Is this, where does this fall in your estimation on all this?
Before I get to if I'm okay with Embracer and so forth, I would just like to say, just like you said, Square has been kind of prepping people for this separation for some time, and I think everybody that's been watching this whole scenario thought that Microsoft was going to be the ones, and I kind of thought that they were going to do like we'll wait until after the game, Perfect Dark is released, to do the more organic growth route, where it's like, all right, the game was released on time, box checked, it's critically acclaimed, box checked, and a few other things, and then it's like, okay, here's the offer, we're acquiring you. Because it was just weird to me that Crystal Dynamics was sitting there in the corner doing nothing, twiddling their thumbs, when Microsoft went over to Square. That should have been a red flag kind of in general. It's like, how are you going to have a studio that done so well when it came to Tomb Raider?
A quick aside, Fuzzy, real quick. Remember, we thought they were sitting there twiddling their thumbs, right? And then Microsoft hired them to work on Tomb Raider,
right?
To work on Perfect Dark.
Yeah.
Now that we know we know better, they weren't twiddling their thumbs, right? They were in pre-production for Tomb Raider this whole time.
Yeah.
No? Right? So they were never twiddling their own thumbs.
Hold on a minute. Now, as I understood it, the way this was explained to me by people, we'll just say that, is that Square had not greenlit any
they
of their
refused
projects
to greenlight any of their
Yes.
projects. That is known. Yes,
and to prevent any attrition while they were trying to do what they were ultimately going to do here, they gave them something to do, basically. So
and I understand
and
that
this was a way for them for the studio to bring in some revenue without Square
of course,
expending any resources.
I guess my question is, Everborn,
so this is
and
all
maybe your knowledge has some of
right?
that. I feel the timeline's a bit washy because people were all like, how can they just be sitting around doing nothing? And now we hear, like, I don't think, and you can correct me if I'm mistaken here, please do. I don't think them announcing, oh, we're working on Tomb Raider and we're using Unreal Engine 5 was announced a week before it was actually announced to the public. I think they've been busy at that for a while. And they're now announcing it to the public.
So I'll tell you what I think. I think that announcement was used to get a price that they were looking for in the sale.
But they could still already be working on it. I understand the announcement was a strategic step so that they can get the dollar amount, 100%. But it's not to say that they just said that just to have the price. They must be working on that. Or
but what does working on it mean? Like studying Unreal Engine 5 for something that they want to... You don't think they already had plans for that? You could just say that it just wasn't greenlit. So you announce it.
We'll never really know when that changed.
I don't think Square had them working on anything. Not greenlit anyway. This is probably like skunk work stuff.
Pre-production stuff? Okay.
Yeah. Right? Okay. So I think that this is all a part of the letting them work on Perfect Dark was a stalling tactic to try to probably sell them to, even though we'll get to my other theory, to try to sell them to Microsoft, or at the very least to have them bring in some revenue without any risk on Square side.
All very sound theories. So let's get to that other theory. Go for it. So what do you think this next step is here in the equation? Go ahead.
Now, you can't talk about Square and acquisitions and the Western division just being gone without sort of also thinking about how close Square is with Sony. Mm-hmm. And it's been a long
and before you continue, we're not bringing it up. We're not having that conversation today. Yes, we know Greg Miller, a few other folks have talked about how they think Square is being bought by PlayStation. We have the similar thoughts that way as well. But since there's no actual meat on the bones just yet, we're waiting until there's actually a meat on the bones. I'm waiting for at least, and I know Grubb has talked about it, but I'm waiting for at least the Venture Beat write-up before I delve into that. For now, it's just a rumor. Please continue, everyone.
Right. So I wonder if Square sheds their Western studios, one to lighten the load, right? Mm-hmm. So you can say, listen, all the studios we have left are printing money. Final Fantasy.
It's that Sega Sammy move. You know, they went to the gym to make themselves look good.
Right.
for the suitor.
So now Square can potentially go to Sony and say, hey, we got rid of the studios you didn't need, because Sony is very heavy on the kind of games that these guys make, and Sony doesn't really want the PR hit of we had to fire 1,200 people and shut down 3 studios. So get rid of that.
Real quick. And shout out to you. Welcome, sir. Mr. Kima has joined us, a new name to our program. We appreciate you. Appreciate you being here. And I'll take this moment to say, please, if you haven't done so, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you can. We love having you folks here. We love to do this every week. Please do so to help us continue doing so. But Mr. Kima brings up an interesting point. In his estimation, and I'll let you continue, everyone, but it's good to get some perspective from the chat here. Square is actually closer to Nintendo. Sony just pays for timed exclusivity. And then he says he doesn't think Square Enix will be bought by Sony because they don't want to abandon the Nintendo.
Well, what are your thoughts? To that, I would say, I don't think Bungie wants to abandon the Xbox, and guess what happened?
And that's why they didn't. Look at that. Interesting.
Right? Yeah. So again, and I'm with you, Umbra. I don't know how the hell
it's insane, brother. We're gonna talk about it. Insane.
It might be us that are placing too much of a nostalgic value on those brands, because those brands are ultimately worth, when you do your due diligence, they're worth the revenue they bring in. So you have old IPs that haven't been even spoken about for a decade, and then you realize that
there's another Tomb Raider movie coming like next year, right? It's already in the
works. Fantastic. The first one barely cracked 300 million.
but the first one did it good enough.
Which is
where
actually
Vikander got a chance to do
actually the third one. But
yes,
sure, right?
Yes.
But again, even that is a gamble. So you have to look at ticket sales, right? You have to look at what the licensing, how much did they bring in licensing? What sort of merchandising did they sell? And when you have to open up your books and show that, the IPs actually probably weren't worth that much.
Yeah.
Right?
We might be in the bag because we know what they're worth to us, but monetarily they may not have as much shine on them.
When
as they
you
used to.
see the behind the books, the things that we are not privy to, you're going to make an evaluation on that. So, but if you get rid of your Western divisions, right, and you become more attractive to a Sony, and you know you have a deal in the works, and you know that Microsoft will be your soon-to-be competitor, perhaps you don't sell it to them on purpose. You sell it to someone else, so you can probably later on have your soon-to-be parent company work out exclusivity deals with them, if you so choose.
Yeah.
No,
right.
I can see that.
So,
yeah, for sure.
So what I'm saying is perhaps Xbox or Microsoft didn't pass this up, but it actually wasn't an option for them because Square didn't want to sell to Microsoft.
I kind of see that, but my only counter would be at this point, like, yeah, you don't want to help your future competition, but you could also put the screws to them, kind of, especially when they have as deep a pockets as they have. You could probably say, well, instead of the 300 million, which we, like you said, we all see it as a steal, not knowing necessarily what the operating costs and stuff are, but you could say, okay, Microsoft, well, it's $1 billion per studio. And or something
but
along those
lines. That's another
lines.
way of saying we don't want to sell to you.
Can't have it. Yeah, that's another way of saying for you it's cost prohibitive. Now for those who then are now asking
they gave
themselves,
Embracer Group the sufferer's price, as I like.
Oh,
to call
bro,
it.
they gave Embracer Group the deal of the friggin' century. Like it beats Insomniac in some way, and I'm just like, how is that possible? Anyway, let us look on the screen here, and I apologize to my audio listeners, but we have a pie chart showing all the various pieces of the puzzle that make up the larger gaming industry right now. And I forgive me, I don't have the person who put this together to really give them the righteous credit, but there you have it. If you can take a closer look at this, it was on Twitter, so you can I'm sure I'll post it. You can find it, but this shows you how much of the pie Embracer now owns, right? EA, considered one of the biggest companies in the world, owns a sliver. Now, of course, it's not about quality and not about quantity, it's about quality ultimately, but IPs are valuable nonetheless because IPs themselves are what keep this industry going, right? A bad IP can be turned into a good IP depending on what developer takes their hands and starts making potential from them. But as you can see, here's your Tencent offering, PlayStation, also Ubisoft, pretty big. PlayStation, Microsoft, without the Activision Blizzard deal, is, well, actually, you know what? They actually did put Activision Blizzard in here right now. Even in this world, right? Embracer has a large swath of the market, like as far as the big known commodity market, right? They have been buying, like look through here and you will see a who's who of your favorite game publisher and developer from your past. I'm talking your Zipper Interactive, your Deep Silver, your Volition, a bunch of really popular known names that we remember fondly that now become part of the Embracer Group, right? So I see what you're saying, everyone, as far as maybe Square wasn't in, Square didn't want that to be an option for them, and that's fine, right? And of course, strategically, what are they going to do? They only have Tencent and maybe Amazon and Netflix. They could have potentially sold this too because Netflix is out there as well. Mm-hmm. So I do hear you on. They're trying to keep their new suitor happy, so they don't want to sell it to their competitor. I hear you on all that. But once Embracer Group now has this, and follow me here, I've said this before and you've laughed at me, but I'm still going to go there again with you. And I want you to really think it through and tell me why it could never be. But right now, right, and when I said this on Boom Show and people were talking about it today, right, in 2022 thought process, if the Activision Blizzard deal was done and they were to Microsoft were to want to acquire this big swath of the pie, it would not go down well. We understand that, right? Because as we've established, even though the laws are clear, right, the perception of the laws and how people talk about them and how people think they exist. Oh, we see. Yes. Welcome, sir. This is the second week in a row. Welcome, good sir. We appreciate you being here.
Doing something right over here.
We must be. Yes, indeed. We really appreciate you. Thank you. So I guess what I'm saying.
Oh wait, one thing. Sorry.
Yeah, please.
Dirt. I don't know if you know this. Maybe you heard already, but we will no longer be stepping on your toes on Mondays. You got that time slot?
Yes, we are moving to Wednesday. Yes. And I will make a bigger announcement on that Wednesday. At the end. Yes, starting Wednesday.
So that means no PTG on Mondays. That means, Dirt, if you will have, at least me, I can't speak for anybody else, I'd love to come back on to We Bleed Green.
Hey, I'm here. Come on, let's do this. Xbox all day. Let's go.
No more conflict of interest.
That's right. Definitely no more conflict of interest. But I guess where I'm going with all of this is today, if that were to happen, right, because Lena Khan and all of that stuff, yes, there would be hay that is made. Will it go well? I doubt that. But that's the hypothetical world that we
Adam Conover will not have it.
Exactly. And Lena Khan is giving Adam Conover the voice to not have it, but we shall see. After the Activision Blizzard deal clears, let's give it a year, right? There, as Everborn has aptly pointed out, Microsoft and his folks, Microsoft and their paid prognosticators know exactly when this will be done. They say, hey, it'll be done midsummer 2023. You know, as Everborn has pointed out, they did it last time with the Activision, with the Bethesda deal, where when they said they knew when it was going to happen, they knew almost to the month when it was going to happen. They were very strategic. Yes, they were very. They knew exactly what they were doing. So them saying now summer 2023, hey, we should believe them when they say what they're doing because they probably know when it will happen, right? So let's say the deal ends, the deal closes 2023 summer. Then take a year from then, 2024, because it'll take about a year, maybe 2025 at most, to integrate, to get rid of all the well-documented ridiculousness.
Hold on a minute.
Please continue.
When was the when was Activision announced versus when was the Bethesda deal closed? Because the Bethesda deal closed on March of 2021, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not 10 months later, they announced Activision.
Yes, so they could still keep buying after that. No, I get that, but the reason why I equated a little different from Bethesda than Activision is Bethesda was a well-oiled machine that needed more money, right? Their last two games didn't do great because clearly they were on the money chase, right? Fallout 76 and all the other stuff. Besides that, though, there was no issues with their culture that has been reported. You know, people like management. They're a well-oiled machine that just.
Well, no, I think there were some things at ZeniMax, but they did go.
It wasn't to the point of Activision Blizzard. Is I guess my point, right? It wasn't to the point where heads are about to roll. All of that. No one is safe from the ridiculousness. I know this, right? Even if it's not announced, like recently we heard Microsoft, PlayStation is going through it as well. No one is safe. So. I do not want to discount any of that at all, 100%. But I guess what I'm saying is this, like they themselves have not been, Bethesda had not had that as the headline news, making everybody look at them sideways. They had navigated those waters relatively well. So in that world, all Microsoft really needs to do is give them the resources and let them do it. They had Starfield in the mix already, all that stuff. I assume, and I could be wrong in that Bethesda, obviously Activision Blizzard King will be a different situation, right? Some of them are very toxic. Some of the culture there needs to be reworked. There's a lot of work that needs to be done for them to be that shining, example that Microsoft wants them to be. So because of that, I will say year and a half, right? 2025, let's just ballpark, right? Now they are part of Microsoft proper. Let's do a thought experiment to 2025 and see what the landscape might look like. Look at what the landscape looks like today on your screen. By then, I guarantee you that Sony's PlayStation Now or PlayStation Plus, all the various tiers, all the growing pains will be worked out by then. You will be loving the subscription service you get from them. I will guarantee you, most likely, well, not guarantee, but most likely, Amazon would have figured out Luna by then. This is 2-3 years down the line, right? Maybe they've acquired 1 or 2 studios themselves to fill in the gaps. They're out there, right? Ubisoft, very hungry, right? We've heard them recently talk about possibly getting acquired or working with other companies so they can circumvent those takeovers that they keep worried about, right? All that is in the mix. I am making an assumption by the time that the Activision Blizzard deal is closed and all the cultural issues worked out, right? We'll be in a different paradigm in that world. In that world where we have stiff competition all around, and we will. I even say Netflix, in that world, Netflix will be major because they already have your money. Now they're just going to give you games in addition to what they've already been giving you. And they're already starting to do that today. They may buy huge monster companies left and right because they got the money to do so, and they see the gaming as their next market. Or they might get bought. 100%. But I guess my point is 2025, 2026, the landscape is absolutely different, right? Right now, on their best day, Embracer Group is about $8 billion, 7 and change. They lost 21 point something percent of their market cap in 2022. 2021, they were actually worth more, right? Let's say they have a better year in the next 3 to 4 years, right? How much can that climb? 15, 20? Everbon, you're a financial guy. Come on now. How far can they climb with these purchases? How far do you think, in your estimation, Embracer Group can grow and command? They release amazing Tomb Raider games. They release, amazing what have you.
You're assuming that they will release an amazing game.
This is all experiment. We don't know that exactly.
So what we're going to see?
I'm assuming they release things that then increases their value in the marketplace. May not happen.
I think that's a broad assumption. Now, the thing is,
but if that doesn't happen, then that works in my favor even more to my final argument. Because the next 3 to 5 years. The next 3 to 5 years, if Eidos Montreal and because you asked Jez a very interesting question, what happens to Perfect Dark 2? Right? In the next 3 to 5 years, if we're looking at Perfect Dark 2 and Perfect Dark is looking great and people love it and they're wondering, oh no, this is going to be like a Killer Instinct situation where we don't have a developer to build them again because now it's said and done. What's not to say that Microsoft then, after this deal is done, they look at Embracer and go, oh, you were 8 then. Now you're worth maybe 15. We'll give you 25. Because 70 is a Starbucks run.
But again, so
please tell me why that is not in the realm of possibility. Please.
Okay, 124 studios, something like that, 14,000 employees.
By the way, these guys own Dark Horse Comics. Continue.
Fantastic. Again, we will see what this Knights of the Old Republic game turns out to be because they are the ones putting that out. Mm-hmm. Yes. I don't think Tiny Tina's Wonderland hit the mark.
Oh, bro, there are many who love that. I'm not a Borderlands dude. I'll be clear. Cool. I'm not. But my only Borderlands game that I actually like, believe it or not, they're coming out with the second part, which I'm excited about. Tales of the Borderlands. I love that game.
Now, so the point that I'm making is you actually have to revive these IPs to extract value. There is a reason they got Tomb Raider, Deus Ex, or Deus Ex, whatever you call it, Soul Reaver, and all those things for $300 million.
Yes,
because
those IPs have not been
value of the IP and what money they bring in. Right? There's a reason Bungie was $3.6 billion, even though we think they may have overpaid.
100%.
You have to look at the value of the IPs. Now,
but here's my argument to your statement, though.
Well, let me just finish the sentence. Let me finish the sentence.
Please.
Embracer has not yet proven that they have the wherewithal to reinvigorate these franchises that they now own that we love from our past. So until they can do that, I don't think there's any reason to believe that they will be approaching anything anywhere near $15 billion. Not to mention,
let me give you
have a market correction coming in the next year or so, and that is the reason
a quick counterpoint, and I'll let you continue. I'll give you a quick counterpoint, and I'll let you continue. And Fuzzy, we're open ended. Please don't wait to speak. Jump in as you see fit. My counterpoint is this. Okay, as I've already said to you, Embracer Group does provide value. It's just not to the consumer in a direct way. They have been providing value to these subscription streaming services for a while now. Stadia lives on Embracer. By and large, so does Microsoft Game Pass.
How well is Stadia doing?
Stadia is faulty for a different reason. It has nothing to do with the content.
Google issue.
You said they live on it. I'm saying they're not really living.
But I guess my point is right now, and like I said, many other games that Embracer has, people are finding hidden gems. You don't know what it's called. You don't know where it's from. You wouldn't give it the time of day if you had to open your wallet. But the minute you see that cool little screen and you're like, hey, this logo looks interesting, and you try it, you go, wow, this is actually better than I thought. That has been providing value. It's been keeping subscribers happy in Game Pass currently for a while now, right? And Microsoft knows that. You may not know that, or a non-Game Pass person who doesn't like, if you're all about the AAA, where's the next big, huge banger, you may not know that. But those of us who like the gems, those of us who are looking for the next Omno or the next really cool little interesting indie, there are lots of them in here. And Embracer and Devolver Digital have been providing that to streaming services in spades for a while now. So if that's happening today, what's to say then in the future that we're talking about here, they don't have to be the, hey, look at us, we're Embracer and we're a household name and you know us.
So
as long as Microsoft
filler is what
it's
you're
not
saying.
Filler. But you see, this is the thing. That's such a pejorative statement. Like, as I said, Riverbond.
You said it's the one that people are not looking at. You said it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because that's what Game Pass is for,
like,
right?
So it is to fill the calendar until the big name things
Get
come.
out of here. See,
this is what you're saying. I'm not saying that's what you said.
You're just taking a pejorative tinge to it.
Name for me the Embracer things that are gems in Game Pass. Name the Embracer gems in Game Pass.
But that's my point, bro. You don't need to know that. All you need to know.
No, but I'm asking you to tell me. Like, do you know?
Well, like I told you, like the most recent experience, I played Riverbond. I thought it was amazing, and then I found out it was an Embracer game. I was like, wow. Right? I didn't know what the hell this thing was. I would have never bought it, but now I paid for it. I bought it as part of my library now. And if they ever do something else, I am more likely to look at it now because I'm like, hey, like the type of gamer I am not about the AAA every time. I have a AAA, and then I have a little nugget of an indie to kind of work through back and forth. I like that game.
So my thing is,
but I guess before I let you continue, the only point I'm making, the only pushback I'm pushing back against your point, and I hear you, and I don't necessarily think you're wrong. I'm just saying that the value that is determined is not necessarily just value to the consumer directly. The indirect value to consumer is also very valuable, and Microsoft and all these other subscription services are taking that into account today. And that is what's keeping Embracer Group eating. That's where their money is coming from to be able to buy the Western studios from Square, right? They're filling their pockets with the Riverbonds that we play that we didn't know we liked. So if that's happening today, nothing says that won't happen 3, 4, 5 years down the line when they have, like, because everyone's growing, right? The gaming landscape is getting bigger and more lucrative all the time. And you see Embracer already buying huge parts of it. They are now, like, they've moved on from AA, and now they're taking actual pieces of AAA out of it. Nothing says that by 2025 that has not continuing, and Microsoft doesn't want to capitalize on that. They may not have, the next great Tomb Raider, or they may not even touch Tomb Raider in the next 5 years, but still their value is very visible for those who like those subscription services. It still is today. But please continue.
Yeah, I think you gave me an example of one game.
Well, yeah, because look, not everybody's out there. Look, this is not like, I like that this is not like that, I like that Michael Jackson song or whatever. It's not a game. We're not in a world where, unless we're talking AAA and you have these auteurs who come on stages with sunglasses.
But I'm not talking.
You barely ever know who made what.
I'm not.
You don't know who makes what.
I'm not talking about AAA. If you told me Embracer Group made things like Death's Door or Tunic right? Or some of these other games, then I would say, cool, they are an RTOR, small, AA or indie level production stuff.
So what you're
and they
saying
have
is,
a
in
lot
order
of
for
it.
it to break into your zeitgeist, they need to make, even in their own space, whether it be AA or small, it needs to be the tip of the spear to the point where it breaks to the mainstream. Then you'll hear them.
I think that, so okay. I look at Devolver the same way I look at A24, right? In terms of film.
They're a tip of the, like you said, they're a tip of the spear when it comes to indie. They have broken through.
Right, because there's an eye on quality. It's not so much about quantity. It is, we have smaller budgets. We're not making AAA budgeted games, but we are making quality, smaller fare that is in many cases award worthy. And I'm saying, if you're not going to be the AAA budgeted thing, your smaller budget projects, you need to have some where it's like, wow, they made that and they made that and they made that. Who cares about the budget? They're putting out quality. And I don't know that I've seen that from Embracer Group yet. I'm not saying it won't be, but until they can do that, you don't want your service filled with things that it's not about the budget that goes in there, it's the quality that goes in there.
Well,
and so
with
sorry,
Saints
go ahead.
Row,
Fuzzy, go ahead.
I'm sorry. One of the things, like with Saints Row, when they did the remastering, that I think both did well critically as well as financially. For
yes,
them.
it did. Yes, it did. Yep.
It was one of those things where, was it Violation or whatever, had their ins and outs with that last game that they made that was like a spy game kind of thing where you could switch between characters.
Yeah, I have that game. It's not great. It's not great. Yeah.
And they came back after being purchased by Embracer and did the remaster of like Saints Row 3 and 4. So
and it was great.
They're still working towards what you're looking for as far as like becoming a bigger known name or a bigger quantity. I foresee them picking up maybe another AAA studio here and there as time goes on, and that I won't say that they're going to ever be able to afford like a CD Projekt Red or if partnering with somebody like Ubisoft would even be a thing for them. But I think they are going to be a quick stop, get your foot in the door in this industry. So it's either Microsoft could look at, okay, we could acquire this, pick and choose the IPs that we need, or somebody like Amazon or Apple could be like, you know what? I want that instant thing that we can have more control over and be like, all right, let's just write this check for, what is it, 10 billion? And
a quick aside, Fuzzy, a quick aside. I think Everborn, the Metro series, AAA series, beloved by many, 4A Games, owned by Embracer Group. They recently re-released the only ray traced version where, by and large, the Metro series it's been critically acclaimed and financially super successful. They've re-released it multiple times and it always sells. Embracer Group. I'm sorry, Fuzzy, continue.
No, but that's like
the last new one, the new Metro coming out.
That may take some time because I don't know if they're still in the same area that the other group that's doing Stalker is in. I know
you'll have to give me a moment. I have somebody at my door. Mr. Everborn Saga, please take over. I'll be right back.
But I think we see another Metro maybe in like another 2 to 3 years. But they have a decent amount of IP that may not be that breakout. Like I don't think anybody's going to do or replicate like a Elden Ring type of level thing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't need AAA games. I need the Tunics and the Death's Door. Yeah, and I need them to consistently put out quality stuff like that. The budget doesn't matter. I'm with UK Asante. It's most times like I'm kind of tired of the AAA games because a lot of them are filed down to be so broadly appealing that they're almost not fun anymore. And I love the versatility and the new things that they try out in these smaller budgeted games. I'm fine with that. But if you are going to put them in any service, especially if you're Microsoft, right? It's not like you have a burgeoning service and you just need content in there. There's a lot of high quality content that Microsoft is working on and will be working on. And so you don't want to, think about it like an album, right? Do you remember the change from, you guys should, the change from vinyl to CD, right? Where albums,
I remember the change from cassette tapes, bro.
Yeah. Sure. Cassette tapes to CDs.
You see these grays? You see these grays? Continue.
Yeah. Now, so the thing is, you remember albums used to have, before CDs came about, like 10 tracks max, right? Unless it was a double album, right?
No fillers. Yep.
Right? No fillers. That is the point. And then CDs.
But see, you're calling fillers as a pejorative, and I disagree with you on that.
Fantastic.
Fillers,
CDs
they don't make fillers.
And then you had to start seeing albums with 17 tracks, 13 tracks, just to fill the space. And 3 to 7 of those tracks were trash. And it's like, if you cut those out, you'd have a perfect album.
See, my problem here, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, is he is making an assumption that most of the stuff in there is trash, right? Filler.
There's
right?
120 something studios.
But I say,
most of it
because
is
it's not. No, just because it's not in your Twitter space, Twitter timeline, or hasn't made it to your ear.
You only mentioned one
type of game you like.
I asked you for examples. You couldn't give me any.
I mentioned you 2 games. I actually mentioned an indie game and a franchise that they own.
A franchise that they have not actually made a new game for under that.
They've actually rebuilt that game in solely ray tracing mode. They just recently did that. That was under Embracer that did that.
Give them time. I think I think Embracer, like it you gotta crawl before you walk kind of thing. But I think
this is their first shot, their big shot.
But I think they're the type of company where if somebody does decide to acquire them, it gives them an instant catalog of IP. And I don't necessarily think it will be Microsoft unless it's to kind of counter somebody like a Tencent acquiring them, or counter an Amazon or Apple acquiring them. But I definitely could see Amazon looking at it as, well, this will be our catalog, and now we no longer have to worry about our competition having that overlap.
I see Netflix looking at them going, I see Netflix. I see you, Netflix, because they need content a lot immediately. Yeah. I see Netflix, yes, and they have those pockets. They could do it.
So Embracer is that company that right now in their current form, they may not be that appealing or that spectacular as far as looking at it as a whole, but there's a lot of potential, and I know we can't bank on potential and things like that, but I think this is a group that will continue to pick up studios, that will continue to work on the IPs that they have and make money off it. May not make big dollars off of a lot of their IPs, but they'll at least be able to like either remaster or reboot certain series. Like Saints Row is coming out. Let's see how well it does. And considering that Grand Theft Auto is not around for probably a couple of years,
so that Everborn wants to know some titles. So if you put it in Embracer Group, it's difficult because they are such a subsidiary of a subsidiary. So it's difficult to find their stuff. So you have to specifically seek out those subsidiaries. So I had to do a little bit of sub searching. But just a few titles, just real quick, so you understand what I mean when I say Embracer Group. The Saints Row remake that's coming out 2022, that's Embracer. The last remake they made in 23, Embracer. All of Metro Exodus, Dead Island, Agents of Mayhem, which is what you were mentioning there, Fuzzy Belvedere. Chivalry 2, which is huge even today. Like, you hear the Iron Lords like won't stop talking about Chivalry 2. They were playing that forever, right? Chorus, remember that cool little flight game that came out that everybody loved so much, that came out with the next gen that had a really
nobody loved that game. I bought it.
Oh,
no,
I did not buy it. Talk to Pong Soul. He'll convert you. He'll convert you. Kingdom Come Deliverance. Man Eater. Like, dude, these guys are out here. Like, people know these names. These games are games that they play. You may not be the one that play all these games, but these games are popular games that are very well known, and most people just don't even know that they're Embracer Group. World War Z, the Evil Dead game that's coming out very soon. A lot of these games are Embracer, like Saber Interactive, Deep Silver. They are all Embracer. Let's not even talk about Gearbox, right? These guys are out here. It's just a situation of, it's not like Sony Santa Monica made this. It's like Embracer Group, Deep Silver, and then Deep Silver is the publisher. So then underneath Deep Silver is the actual dev who then publishes for Deep Silver, who then is owned by. So it's very obscure. But if you start digging through it, Embracer's out here, and they are taking a huge chunk of the market. Now, I agree with you, Everborn. Deep Silver, 2016. They ported Persona 5. Like, these guys have been here for a long time. They've been doing very interesting things. I am just saying they're trying to step out of the shadow of that double A-ness, and you're right that it's all about quality and not necessarily quantity. But I think they're walking and chewing gum at the same time here. We just haven't seen it to its fruition, but they just bought their biggest studio ever. Like, they agreed to do so just a week or two ago. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with it. Now, it's all consternation. We don't know what's going to happen in a couple months or a couple years or whatever. So I personally, we're all just reading the tea leaves and we all could be wrong. But I still, Mr. Everborn, you clowned me when I said it, but still to this time, you have not been able to dissuade me from my thought process that, hey, they themselves might be a good target at some point for the bigger dogs, which would be Netflix, which would be Amazon, which would be Microsoft themselves. Probably more Netflix and Amazon than Microsoft, but still a possibility.
Let me take this opportunity to get on camera and clown you again.
Oh yeah,
now, I want everybody to go ahead and clip this part of the show.
Yeah. Right? Just like you clowned me when I brought Embracer up in the first place before they ended up buying the Western division.
Fantastic. Continue. Here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft will never buy Embracer. Now I want everybody to clip that and show this back to me if I'm ever proven wrong.
Give me a reason why, so we have a full picture. Go ahead.
There are too many employees. There's too many random studios. They don't need them, and the IP is not valuable enough. If you look at Microsoft's purchases, they have not been purchasing little things. They've been purchasing the biggest name IPs in the entire industry, and that is what they are seemingly going to continue to focus on. So when they have games with large amounts of users, huge IPs like that, those are Microsoft's targets, not these kind of games. They will work with them. They will partner with them till the end of the universe. They are an indie darling, but they are not, I promise you, because you cannot point to me any small projects that Microsoft seems like they have their eye on that they're going to buy. So
I just noticed New World Interactive is in that Embracer group, the makers of Insurgency Sandstorm.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you there, Fuzzy. Appreciate you, bro.
Again,
I'm just saying. But see, you know what? I do agree with you on one thing. Okay. Like, if there's a world where that purchase exists, it would have been before now. Because now, much like Netflix, right? If you want to see how Microsoft is moving, look how Netflix moved. In the beginning, they were all about partnering with people, right? Then they started buying, and now they're about making stuff for themselves. Microsoft has moved on to we will be our own developer and our platform, and you'll come to our service for our games, right? Those other third parties are still there filling the gaps. But as that flywheel is starting to turn, where Game Pass first party is starting to get big, less and less of that will be important, presumably in the future. So if there's a world where they probably could have and probably would have early on when they didn't have all these studios ready to go. So in that respect, I see where you're coming from. But I still think that this company is a viable option. And even if they don't purchase them, which we can go back and forth forever on that, but I do think they will, like you said, they will continue to partner, because you are right about those big third party, gas games that have huge numbers that really Microsoft loves and it matters, right? But in between those, it's the Tunics and the Trek to Yumis and these kind of games that keep people subscribed to Game Pass, while that next big gas game is on the horizon. And they will continue to need them until they have that flywheel
right. But again, if it's those smaller games, you don't have to take on the risk of buying
the studios. And this is why I said, if there's a part where you're right, it's that had they done something, it would have been a while ago when they didn't have themselves a huge studio to fall back on, list of studios to fall back on for their own first party.
Even
since
still,
they do, that makes the potential of this purchase less and less likely. I understand.
So buying a multitude of small studios is really cost prohibitive when you think that indie games and smaller budgeted games, they come not a dime a dozen, but you have to find the special ones, and you have the pockets to make one single developer for a project a nice offer as you find the ones that you like, versus buying them, taking on that risk in perpetuity for all of those small things. So, but the only way that makes sense is if Embracer can prove that their curation skills are up to par,
which right? Is still potential and not to fruition
so
yet.
This is why I don't think, unless they're just saying every small project they put out is a gem because they're curating like that, things like that, and not just buying.
And that has not happened yet.
Right.
Sure.
So that's why, to me, they're not a target.
Okay.
Devolver Digital would be a bigger target than Embracer.
I agree with you on that. 100%.
That regard.
I would say today, and I'm not talking about that couple years from down the line that we were to talk about. Today, if Microsoft was capable of a mid, indie gem publisher purchase, Devolver should be that focus. I completely agree with you, 100%. But no, it is a very interesting conversation, and I think as this gets going, we are definitely going to hear more and more from Devolver, from Embracer, and I will keep banging the drum that they out here. Them and Netflix, when I said Devolver, when I said the Embracer some months ago, people were like, huh? Netflix, keep an eye on them. They out here. And they started with some cheapy, ridiculous mobile games. Yeah. Give them some time. I think you're going to be very shocked at the level of purchase they're going to make, because they're looking to diversify their portfolio as to the offerings of their service. And as we see right now, Netflix is not doing so hot, and they're making people pay more for the service. And because of that, their subscription count is dropping. So they need to add value to it. They're adding minuscule games on Android right now. So most iOS folks don't even know that. But sooner or later, what recent, they're not quite a household name, but if I'm not mistaken, they recently purchased a studio, did they not? Night School Studios, the maker of Oxenfree and another game that they made. It's they're like a Telltale-like developer, which it's a start. But I can foresee them making huge purchases because they don't want to only be known for your TVs and movies, because that's becoming a very competitive space for them, right? At this point, with all these other competitors in the space, and they see that gaming is their next step. So hear me now. Netflix, they out here. You're going to see
hear me.
I
think after the dust settles from this Activision thing, I don't think their next purchase is. I want it to be Sega, but I don't think it is.
No, I was hoping that wanted to see how long we would go to this show before Sega was brought up. 2 hours and 13 minutes. Continue. Go ahead.
So I honestly don't even know if Microsoft is interested in making any purchases in that region. It seems like their focus has been in US based.
They're listening to what I'm thinking. If they don't like you, screw it. Fine. You don't like me?
No, but Sega does like them, and that deal almost happened. And
yes. Go ahead. Bring up the book. Go ahead.
I'll talk about the book later during the outros and things.
Okay.
But I think their next major target, because when you think about it, these are major targets, right? ZeniMax was a proving grounds and to fill out their first party studios. I think they're going to be they're definitely going to be exclusives that come from Activision, but that was a power move, right? ZeniMax was a power move.
Oh yeah.
Right? You know what the next power move to that end is? Valve.
Please. Valve.
Yeah.
I've heard people talking about that. I
think they move on Valve after this thing's done.
Yeah, and you know what? That thought experiment that I made about Embracer, that like take everything I said and replace Embracer with Valve, and it makes more sense. Today, that would be a problem. In 4 or 5 years from now, not a problem at all. Today, it'd be like, oh, you're buying up all PC gaming, even though realistically there's Epic, there's all these others, but those others have not bitten enough of the apple just yet to make it a competitive landscape. But give it 2-3 years, how Epic Games is moving, it will be competitive. And by that time, when Microsoft goes, well, Gabe is retiring and he's handing us Valve, there won't be too many complaints. Today, there definitely be complaints. Oh my God, you'll see Conover over there with his head bobbing like crazy, talking about how the world is over if Valve was purchased by Microsoft.
The internet would melt
It would lose its freaking mind if they did that. Like, oh my God, PC gamers are worse than console people. Get out of here. They'd be like GTX cards burned in the street. You'd see people throwing that 3080,
and then they would come right back to Steam.
Yes, and they would come because they are heathens and they have no choice. But yes, indeed. So, no, I do see that. You're absolutely right. Valve, like, there's only
that
one
would make
place.
them the de facto owner of PC gaming, and that's what they want. And did you know that in all these years of decline of the PC space as mobile has risen, the only sector of PC sales that has risen is gaming machines?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, and real quick, to your point, this is definitely to your point.
Gaming has kept the Windows division afloat because people are buying so many gaming PCs.
And Gabe, for a long time, both Gabe and Todd and Tim Sweeney were the biggest Microsoft haters because they were Microsoft employees at some point. They worked very closely with Microsoft. So when they stepped away, they were the biggest haters. Tim has come around for other reasons, obviously. And so has Gabe. Gabe has worked with Microsoft. And on the flip side, they are now making their Arch Linux Steam OS option very viable to the point where Steam Deck, and that's because of here, not there. They're I honestly think somewhere inside AMD and Valve are kind of fudging it a little bit, not working as quickly as they could to make the experience on Windows as good as it should be. But right now, the experience on Linux rivals the one on PC. And
the
even
only person
though
doing fudging these days is NVIDIA, looking at that lawsuit that they got.
Yeah, you know what's going down.
Mining cards.
But for a long time, Gabe wanted an actual competitor to Windows in the gaming space, and Linux wasn't that, right? With Proton and what they're doing in Steam Deck, and I mean, I'm firsthand.
Linux is built into Windows now, though. So
yes, it is. But if you look, like, you can literally take all the binaries that you install a game on Windows. Like, you can install a Steam game on Windows, copy that folder, put it in your Steam Deck, and through Proton, it will convert it and make it work in Linux, even though there's no Linux code in it whatsoever. They have done like insane work now. So with all that said, because Gabe has always, for a long time, he has always wanted a viable competitor to Windows in the gaming space. And that's why they tried those Steam machines that didn't work, right? Because if it's only one side of the OS that's owned, then that company can dictate terms. They don't like that. It needs to be open for everyone to do it. With this Proton change and the Arch Linux that they're doing on Steam Deck now becoming an actual viable thing, and of course, you can install SteamOS on your own PC. You can use Proton on your own PC. You don't need Steam Deck for it. It's all open source. You can just take it and do it yourself, right? With that being an option now.
Comment.
Oh, okay. Let me
I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or serious, but either way, it's hilarious.
Okay.
So kudos to you, sir.
And Jordan Luke says Microsoft will never buy a Valve because Microsoft will become a monopoly and people will attack Joe Biden on Twitter. Good on you, sir.
That is perfect. Whether it is whether it is sarcasm or whether he's serious, it's perfect either way. I love it.
And Victor Alistine, I hear you, but that'll never come to pass because these PC heathens, and I consider myself one of them, are us troglodytes, and I am more open. I will play games wherever they are. Steam gamers want their games on Steam, nowhere else. Yeah. You can charge them for the game on Steam or give it to them free on Epic Game Store, where all you have to do is hit install and they'll still pay the money on Steam rather than getting it for free. That's how PC game Steam specifically is. They are like indoctrinated with Steam. That is the reason why this is I don't quite agree with your point. Yes, it is totally viable. Let me tell you this. Between the Epic Game Store, between the Twitch Gaming, which is now Amazon Gaming, and a few of these other things, I have literally hundreds of games that I will never finish playing that I got for free. But most people don't want that because it's not on Steam. Most people don't install the Epic Game Store because it's not a Steam. Most people don't care about what Twitch is offering for free because it's not on Steam. I have multiple versions of Control because they keep giving it to you for free. But people bought it on Steam. Right? People are still buying GTA 5 today. Epic gave that away for free.
Now, I will say
not on Steam,
that GTA
Windows people don't
on
seem to
Epic
like
is
it.
harder to mod, though.
Yes, it is. It is true.
I can't figure out why, but it is harder to mod. But yeah, you're totally right.
It's because of the launcher that they use and all of that. Yeah, I've tried it as well. I usually take my flat games and I make it VR, but for some reason the Epic versions are harder to do that with than the others. Yeah, it's the launcher they use and some of the logistics there. But the point is, you're absolutely right. Right, PC Game Pass should take off, and because of that, Valve should get competition. But that's not the world where PC players live. If it's not in Steam, they're not hearing it. And that's the world today. Hopefully that changes, but they want their DRM. God can give you everything DRM free and they still don't care. They want that DRM on Steam. Don't know why. It is what it is. But we are 10 minutes from the end of this show because we're trying to keep it at a brisk 2:30 this week. So this has been a great conversation. I sincerely really enjoyed this conversation this week, and I think we're not done yet because there's just so much more to discuss, and the ramifications will be felt for quite some time, right? But I think we're gonna stop it here until next week. But before we go, let me spend a few minutes to gush and thank you so much for choosing to join us this week, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere. This man is out here. Do you even have your own channel? Do you now?
Yeah, but it's mainly like replays and stuff. I really need to get off my butt and do some content.
I think you
stuff.
should. I think you should reinvest in your channel because this man is out here. If you're watching the Fun Speculation channel, you know of him. If you're watching the Shop podcast every week, you know of him. Mr. Boomstick, the Double Barrel Gaming Network also knows of Fuzzy Belvedere. He lends his talents everywhere, and we so appreciate you coming this week and lending your talents here. Tell the fine people where else they can find you this week on the internet and where they can keep up with your ongoings. Maybe some more GT7 content. What you got?
Well, I just want to thank you guys so much for having me on. It was a blast to be here and talk about these topics with you guys. Man, I can't wait to see what things look like in 5 to 10 years. I know the acquisition, season is probably going to continue even well into that, but man, it's just so much fun now with all these studios and games coming, and it's only going to get better from here. At least I hope. I don't want to have another ET moment like the 80s crash or whatever.
I know. Can you imagine that in 2023? Like, the new crash of gaming. People would lose their collective stuff, man.
Hey, if if Grand Theft Auto 6 doesn't hit, I don't know. No, I don't think even that. I don't think that could cause a crash. I think if anything, maybe some downsizing, but nothing like what the 80s was. I think.
Yeah, I mean, they're spending $70 billion in this industry. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
But for anybody that wants to hear my ramblings on anything gaming related, specifically racing games in particular, you can always find me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. Watch some of my replays on YouTube, Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also catch me later on tonight on the Shop podcast with PTK Blam and Pong Soul, as well as we're going to have Lore Master Jasper on there tonight as a special guest. You can also find me on FSP on Mondays at 10 p.m. Eastern Time with Mav, Lore Master Jasper, 3-Bit, Psychonauts, and pretty much the Fun Speculation family. We always try and chip in and give our thoughts on all the gaming consoles on that podcast. And then on Friday mornings, you can also find me on Breakfast with Boom with Mr. Boomstick XL, Web Dave, I believe, who's also in the chat. Also Dreadpool, and we also have John Wolf, who's also in the chat as well. I just love talking about games in the morning. It's like just before the weekend, before I start gaming. It's like, it's a good way to wake up on a Friday. Being like, I don't want to rub it in people's faces or anything, but it's like being retired. It has its benefits at this point.
Every time he says that, him and Boom say that, I'm like, I'm not jealous at all. Trust me.
But
get to stay home and play games all day. Thanks. Yeah.
I'm now kind of sliding into
I get it.
the stay-at-home dad deal with got the boys they're doing dual enrollment, so they're in college and high school, and they're not quite of driving age just yet. That's less than a year away. So yeah, it has its ups and downs as far as gaming time, but it's always fun. It's something to definitely look forward to for the time being. But also on Fridays, you can find me on Xbox Ultimate once again with the Fun Speculation network, where it's always Mav, Pong, Psychonauts, Ashton Lupa, Caitlin, basically the whole Fun Speculation family. But
love that channel. Always watching it. They keep me my work day hopping. Every time he's playing something, he's got something going on. I love Mav's channel. If y'all haven't checked it out, you definitely should. And you are a great addition to that network. So yes, thank you so much.
But thank you guys.
We will
so
definitely be having you back. It's amazing. This is the first time we're having you on. This is ridiculous to me. I will apologize again. Mr. Everborn Saga, how about you, man? I know your the gaming hasn't been great. You know, it's been a little bit of Elden Ring. This man is step by step turning his turning his New York property into a Florida property. So it's keeping it busy.
Yeah, man.
What you got going on? Oh, and before you tell me this, tell the people where they can catch up with the Everborn Saga and the books and all of that. We still have 30 people in here. Please and thank you. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. We're almost at the end of the show. We have about 30 folks in here. This is so great. Splendiferous is also in the spot. This is so awesome. I love that you guys continue to rock with us. Everborn, tell the folks where they can find you this week.
Yeah, man. So everbornsaga.com is where you want to go. If you're into anime, if you're into manga, if you're into the MCU, if you're into Western fantasy, all that up together and you get the Everborn Saga. It is one story, 2 timelines, and 4 series, each following a different character telling the story from their vantage point. Each series is its own subgenre, but it's all in the same world. Check it out. Go to everbornsaga.com. If you're on the fence, you can see some of the animations we've done. You can see some of the games we're working on, and you can see some of these amazing comics. Now, that being said, Twitter, YouTube, all that stuff, go to Everborn Saga. You'll find me, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, all that jazz. You will likely find me on Xbox University's channel later today. I think he's doing a show, and Tim Dog will be there at 6 p.m.
Nice.
And obviously this week on Mondays, Primetime Gaming will not be on Monday. It will move to Wednesday this week. So that's
come out on Wednesday, folks.
That's where you will be able to find me. But again, everbornsaga.com. Just take a look. See if the website doesn't win you over. That's it. It's free to go look. Other than that, I do want to give a shout out here really quickly. I have been reading one of the best books I've read in a long while. It's called
For our
Service
gaming audience.
Games, right? It is Service Games, The Rise and Fall of Sega. And it chronicles them
Sega reference on the show
from the beginning of their existence, which is right after World War II, up until I'm in the Dreamcast era now. Yeah, pretty crazy. I think they're older than Nintendo.
Wow! Now that I did not know. That's crazy. Nintend's been around for 100 years, and they're older than Nintendo. Damn. Okay.
Well, no. Hold on. I may be wrong about that, but just they've been around after World War II. So if Nintendo's older than World War II, then Nintendo's older. That being said, I found out so much of gaming today is shaped by the moves that Sega made. Right? You want to talk about the Sega CD? Did you know that Sony basically pretended to make video games basically they got a contract to produce 2 games for the Sega CD, but it was only a guise so that they could learn what they needed to, because at that time they were working to create a CD add-on to the Super Nintendo.
Yes,
I remember. And
Microsoft didn't that hardware get like auctioned off? It's out there. It's floating around somewhere. That it made big news at some point. That Nintendo / Sony thing was out there.
So if you guys all think Sony's bad with their exclusivity contracts and things like that, Nintendo was way worse. They used to have 90% of the market, 92%, and they told other third-party publishers, not only are you going to do exclusive games for me, but if you want to produce, if you want to develop a game and release it on the Nintendo platform, you cannot make any games for the competition.
Anybody else? That's right.
Right? Yes. Namco tried to sue them for this, and they ended up blocking Namco just for the having the gall to challenge them from making all games on Nintendo. Namco eventually relented, and they were happy when Sega came on the market. And to this day, Namco and Nintendo still have
bad blood. Yes. I recall that.
Namco game on Nintendo. Another thing, Microsoft, we know they provided Windows CE to the Dreamcast. Microsoft used that as a test bed for what would later become the Xbox. And there was almost a deal. The CEOs of Microsoft and Sega were actually in talks back in 2004 a purchase, and the only reason that deal didn't happen is because there were two sticking points that ended up making the deal not work. But Sega wanted backwards compatibility for the Dreamcast built into the Xbox from day one, so that the Xbox could effectively be a Dreamcast 2, and Sega did not want to use Windows as their development environment. They wanted to use their own base APIs. And because Microsoft didn't want that, the deal never happened.
Yeah.
So all this, you can't buy a Japanese studio if you're American.
That's ridiculous.
That's BS
ridiculous.
Because
that
they
always
were
has been
actually
ridiculous.
going to do it.
And, well, but you know, I've always thought
Microsoft wanted to buy Nintendo as well, but got laughed at.
Right. So that's a deal that could have happened. And by the way, last thing, right? The PlayStation, the first PlayStation that put them into the stratosphere. Well, you look like you just saw some crazy information. Your eyes lifted up, Kay. Am I?
Yeah. Well, I'll show that to you later.
All right, tell me that. Anyway, last thing. PlayStation wouldn't be where it is today without Sega. Same thing with Xbox. But what the original PlayStation was supposed to be a 2D machine while they were still making it. And Sega released Virtua Fighter, and Ken Kutaragi had to go back to the drawing board and focus on.
Isn't that rumored to be exactly what they did recently? It's like, yo, the Xbox Series has higher clocks. Come on, overclock our things. Hurry up.
No. But they completely re-architected.
They rebuilt it for 3D. Yeah, because of that. Exactly.
And the funny thing is that hurt Sega, because the Saturn was also supposed to be a 2D machine, and Virtua Fighter was supposed to be a one-off. So because Virtua Fighter was so good and took the industry by storm,
none of their other hardware
Sony changed plans, and then because Sony changed plans, Sega had to go back and add another processor to handle
continue
the 3D games
rendering,
because they only had a year to do it, which means they had to get off the bin parts, which is why the Saturn was so much more expensive than the PlayStation, which is effectively what killed it. And then there's all the infighting between Sega of America and Sega. Fascinating book. Check it out. Service Games, and they didn't pay me to say that.
Service Games, and if you're not a reader of books, which I know some of us aren't, Console War. It's a documentary.
It's also on Paramount Plus. So if you can watch Netflix, you can watch Console War.
There you go. That's right. If you can watch the Halo series, which we didn't talk about this week, but we probably will. And you know what? Since we didn't talk about that, this is an apt ability for me to then publicly shame Mr. Everborn Saga, because here's what I'll say. Our public, there's 30 of you guys still in the chat. We watching, still so appreciative. I want Mr. Everborn Saga to bring On the Reel back on Wednesdays after primetime gaming, because I just watched Doctor Strange and the Metaverse of Madness, and it's crazy. Multiverse and the Batman. I've watched that as well, and I haven't had the opportunity to speak. I don't agree with that.
This week's episode of Quan, not Halo.
The Quan thing we could talk about, but I'm just saying. There's a place where we should be talking about this, and it hasn't come back. And I'm hoping that our move to Wednesdays will spur Mr. Everborn Saga to bring that show on Wednesdays after primetime gaming. And I'm hoping that you audience members, please flood this man's DMs and let us get that show back, shall we? That'd be great. So let us move swiftly along, Mr. Everborn Saga. Are you done? I will definitely be putting that book on my radar because I feel like the documentary kind of give you broad strokes, but based on what you're telling me, it sounds like some of the stuff are really, really detailed. It's more details in the book than I found in the documentary. So I'll definitely be adding your stuff on, adding that book to my list. Definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess we are done for the week. We this one's in the can. There's still about 26 folks still in here rocking with us. We appreciate you to no end. You have no idea. This has been a great episode. For myself, Mr. Fuzzy Belvedere, who is just everywhere on the internet giving really, really cool takes, and we always appreciate him doing that and him blessing us with his opinions. And for Mr. Everborn Saga, you can find him on the xCloud, which is coming out right now. And I'm not sure, maybe Living Split Screen is still live when we're done. Please go check them out. They do great work over there. But until next week, it's been so much fun. And we had a great conversation. And we'll see you guys next week. Have a good weekend.